3 years ago, the Earth underwent mutations causing plants worldwide to evolve wildly. To prevent the world from being destroyed and to maintain peace, humans awakened the ability to control monsters in battle. Those who awakened this ability are called envoys. The red-haired lady teaching at the blackboard is Mu Dong-Thu Diep, the head teacher of Class 11 at an 3rd Senior High School. She was teaching while emphasizing to the students the knowledge that would be on the Chinese test. As the bell rang before leaving, she reminded the students about tomorrow's Beast to Mare competition, inviting anyone interested to bring their parents to watch. This young man just turned 18 is named Cao Bong, a student at an 3rd Senior High School. For 18 years, Cao Bong's only dream has been to become an envoy. However, recently, Cao Bong has encountered some troubles. He often sees strange interfaces in his mind that scare him, not realizing it's a powerful system. Congratulations, host. The monster evolution system has been linked. The system can help the host assess related monster information. Please make good use of this. Maybe because of the heavy academic pressure lately, Cao Bong wondered if he was hallucinating as he climbed the stairs. Suddenly, he saw a strange figure at the stair landing. Cao Bong's mouth twitched as he faced a gigantic spider crawling clumsily on the ceiling, its eyes glowing red from lack of sleep with stripes on its body. At that moment, a strange interface appeared, naming the monster Legendary Spotted Spider, Level 3, Monster Normal Quality Wood Attribute, Healthy and Annoyed Status, Weakness to Fire. Cao Bong recalled that the legendary spotted spider was the pet spider Mrs. Tron, the neighbor, kept, and teacher Mu Dong had said this spider was quite docile. Cao Bong was about to walk past it when the docile spider suddenly jumped up and attacked him. Luckily, his body was quite agile, so he dodged the spider's attack, causing it to fall freely to the ground. Taking advantage of the spider's delay, he ran up the stairs as fast as he could, shouting to Mrs. Tran that her pet spider had escaped and was biting people outside. Amid the chaos caused by the spider's freefall, its glowing red eyes were fixed on Cao Bong. A mass of pure white spider silk sprayed out, forming a web aimed directly at Cao Bong. But luckily, he narrowly escaped the trap. After running a while, Cao Bong thought he had lost it, but the spider suddenly lunged at him at breakneck speed. In the urgent moment, not knowing what to do, he remembered the interface had said the spider's weakness was fire. Fortunately, he used traditional cigarettes instead of electronic ones and quickly pulled out a lighter from his pocket, tossing it straight at the crazily chasing spider. The flame burst up, causing the spider to somersault backward, thrashing in panic and pain. But the flame was still too small for the spider, and soon the fire on it died out. The enraged spider charged rapidly at Cao Bong with murderous eyes, continuously making angry screeches. The interface suddenly displayed a red warning. Cao Bong realized he had just made a foolish mistake. He turned and ran faster upstairs. Only one floor remained to his home. Dai Tu was home, so once he got there, he would be safe. Cao Bong kept running head down while the spider behind continued the chase, the distance between them shrinking bit by bit. The door was right in front of him. Suddenly, the spider spread its 6 legs wide and jumped onto the door frame, its legs like swords aimed straight at him. He shouted Dai Tu's name as his front door was aggressively flung open. Something huge stretched out toward the door. Cao Bong quickly sat down as the huge thing swung and hit the spider, sending it flying away. Seeing a large, long figure moving near him, the spider suddenly became terrified. Its cries became weaker, no longer rough like before, as if it saw its nemesis. A giant centipede appeared behind Cao Bong, making him more intimidating. He looked at the spider with a challenging gaze, daring it if it wanted to continue the race. As soon as he finished speaking, the spider was so scared it jumped onto the ceiling and fled from him. Cao Bong didn't bother chasing after. He pushed up his glasses with his hand, furrowing his brows to create a cool expression. Dai Tu is Cao Bong's beast companion. After making a contract, he and Dai Tu could engage in spiritual communication. At this moment, Dai Tu suddenly rubbed his head against Cao Bong's shoulder, reverting to a non-combat state, repeatedly demanding food like he owed him. Monsters have 2 forms, combat form and non-combat form. In the non-combat state, monsters shrink their bodies to reduce energy consumption and can slowly heal minor wounds. Seeing Dai Tu constantly demanding food because he was hungry, Cao Bong smiled indulgently, patted his head, then went inside to prepare a meal. Cao Bong rolled up his sleeves and picked up a knife, ready to show off his top-notch knife skills. He skillfully sliced the meat into thin pieces, then tossed a carrot into the air, slicing it into many small pieces with a flourish of his knife. As a result, a nutritious dinner prepared especially for Dai Tu was ready. Dai Tu looked at the bowl of food on the table, his eyes sparkling and drooling profusely. He lunged quickly at his bowl and devoured the food as if he hadn't eaten in 3 years. Cao Bong glanced at Dai Tu. The interface popped up again showing Dai-Tu's information monster name. Tuboy Huang Chaongo, monster level 7. Monster quality, normal. Monster attribute, yin. Poison monster, status, healthy and happy monster weakness, thunder and fire. After reading Dai-Tu's info panel, Caobong suddenly realized something. A square appeared on the attribute panel representing the ability to upgrade the monster's quality. How did Dai-Tu go from normal quality to elite quality? Monster qualities from lowest to highest are normal, elite, and perfect. Quality determines the development limits of a monster. The higher the monster's quality, the greater its potential. Caobong was visibly excited, thinking that if Dai-Tu could upgrade to elite quality, it meant he could still upgrade to perfect quality later. Monsters with perfect quality can break through legendary barriers and upgrade to leaders. Just thinking about it, Caobong couldn't contain his excitement, hugging Dai-Tu happily while still chewing his food, imagining how he could get rich thanks to Dai-Tu. He firmly promised himself that he would make sure Dai-Tu upgrades to elite quality. Dai-Tu chewed his food while looking confused, not understanding what Caobong was saying. Caobong clicked on the interface to check Dai-Tu's upgrade requirements. The interface showed 3 types of materials needed for upgrading to elite. First, yin grass, a special grass that grows in areas dense with yin energy, naturally attracting monsters with yin attributes requiring 10 stalks. Next, thunderwood, a material produced when lightning strikes trees having dual wood and thunder attributes requiring 1 piece. Lastly, lightning essence stone produced inside monsters with thunder attribute energy, containing strong electric power requiring 1 stone. Looking at the requirements, Caobong thought it over several times. Yin and yang and thunderwood only cost a bit of money to get. The troublesome part now was the lightning essence stone. Usually, the 5-element essence stones cost 8 credit points, so this thunder essence stone must cost at least 10 credit points. Feeling it was a bit expensive, Caobong had to retract the system. Since the World Alliance was established, the standard currency for goods is alliance currency and credit points. Credit points are a premium currency based on alliance currency. 10,000 alliance currency equals 1 credit point. Caobong recalled that when his parents had unexpected trouble, the government issued 20 credit points to support them. Now Caobong's account only had 11 credit points left. Although these credit points could barely help Dai-Tu upgrade, he feared that after upgrading they wouldn't have money left to live on. After finishing his bowl, Dai-Tu crawled over to Caobong and demanded more food. Caobong, helpless, had to remind Dai-Tu that he's a centipede, not a pig. Ignoring Caobong's words, Dai-Tu stood up and threw a tantrum, insisting on eating more. Caobong sighed in defeat and gave Dai-Tu more food. Watching Dai-Tu eat happily, Caobong's mind was still spinning. Even though there was an upgrade method, he didn't have money to buy the materials. Suddenly, a thought flashed in his mind. If the method recorded in the system was real, maybe he could become a top-tier beastmaster of this era. The demand to upgrade monsters has always been a secret that beast doctors have studied. But now that you can see it directly, it means you can become the top beast doctor. Just thinking about it, Caobong happily dreamed of a day when he could have as much money as he wanted. Speaking of beast tamers, Caobong suddenly remembered that there was a beast tamer competition tomorrow. He quickly opened his phone to check the registration time. Only the last 3 seconds remained. Caobong didn't hesitate and quickly registered right away. The next day, Caobong and Dai-Tu were standing knocking on a house door. The door opened a crack, revealing a girl still wearing a thin, sexy nightgown, yawning as she opened the door. This was Caobong's next-door neighbor. The young man, Caobong, blushed deeply. Seeing her half-covered, half-exposed, cleared his throat a few times, then greeted her. She didn't understand why he came to see her so early in the morning. Caobong stammered, explaining that he was going to participate in the Beast Tamer competition, and wanted to ask her to take care of Dai-Tu for a few days. She nodded in agreement and told him to focus on the competition. Hearing her answer, he showed a happy smile. After arranging things for Dai-Tu, Caobong waved goodbye to her and hurried off. But just seconds after he left, she immediately changed her expression. She glanced disdainfully at Dai-Tu, criticizing him as ordinary and aptitude not cute at all, and wondering how Caobong could have signed a contract with him. Hearing this, Dai-Tu took offense and jumped up ready to attack her. But just one head pat from her stunned him for 5 seconds. If his grandfather knew, he would surely be furious. After entering the house, she sat on a chair, crossed her legs, and called her grandfather. Her grandfather told her not to get agitated about something. Little Bong has signed a contract with a beast, but it's just a mediocre quality common beast. The person on the other end immediately got furious and scolded her for not advising Caobong. She helplessly stood up and walked to the window while answering the call. "How can I advise this grandson of yours? He's just like you, seemingly indifferent, but actually stubborn as a mule. It turned out Dai Tu was left to him by Cao Bong's parents. She stroked her hair and asked if the matter on the other side had been resolved. If it were her, she would simply kill those who disobey and replace them with obedient ones. But she said nothing more about this shady matter, only telling Cao Bong's grandfather to rest assured. With her here, Cao Bong won't be in danger. After saying this, she hung up. On the other end, an elderly man in a sharp suit was standing looking out the window. After thinking for a moment, he instructed his secretary to tell the laboratory, "Give them 5 months. If they don't work for me, they don't need to exist anymore." There's also the issue with the Than Hai branch. Bao Li Da needs them to resolve it within 7 months. The secretary bowed fearfully and went to carry out his orders. After the secretary left, the old man called and stared affectionately at the photo, saying, "Little Bong, within a year, grandfather will settle everything. Then I will come find you. By then, no one will be able to harm you." At the Beast Tamer branch in Chang'an City, thousands of people filled the square. Cao Bong stood in one spot looking around. Everywhere he looked, there were people. He realized that being a Beast Tamer was truly a highly coveted profession. Suddenly, someone called his name. It was his classmate Li Tu-chung. Next to him were Li Tu-kung's mother and older sister. Li Tu-kung's mother wondered why he came to watch alone. Cao Bong stammered, replying that he came to compete. His answer, Feng Tu stood beside, looked at his watch, and announced after watching the first video, contestants will have 20 minutes to think and answer. As soon as Feng Tu finished speaking, the hall began to buzz. Many contestants panicked, unable to observe in such a short time, sitting with their heads in their hands, crying in despair. Feng Tu couldn't hold back and shouted angrily, "Anyone still making noise will be expelled from the exam room." Hearing this, the hall instantly fell silent in fear. Vuong Tu sneered slyly, thinking the written test this year was the hardest in recent years. But he was smug because he had already obtained the test questions earlier. Suddenly, he squinted and glanced sideways at the next table and saw that Cao Bong didn't show any hint of worry. He looked disdainful, thinking Cao Bong was just pretending. While Vuong Tu was busy mocking, Cao Bong was visibly excited. The system had been influenced by his subjective consciousness. Therefore, it provided information he wanted to know about the creature shown in the video. A storm whale likes soft music, sunbathing, and eating various fish and shrimp. It fears dark attribute attacks and dislikes disrupted sound waves. Cao Bong then wrote down the information he saw on the system. Then the screen continued to show more videos of monsters. The monsters in the videos were newly evolved species that very few people knew about. The information about each monster appeared on the screen. Cao Bong just needed to copy down that information. The third video showed a crescent mantis fighting fiercely aggressive by nature. The monster is carnivorous, likes to eat various insects, and fears fire attacks. And so the written test ended. All the test papers were collected. 1 hour later, the test results were ready. Feng Tu began announcing the list of those who qualified for the next round. After reading, he started commenting on the people he just named. Although the test had many mistakes, the results were still valid. After hearing this, Vuong Tu turned to Cao Bong mockingly because he didn't hear Cao Bong's name on the list. Cao Bong sat silently, swallowing hard. No matter how much he thought he couldn't understand, could the information from the system be wrong? At that moment, Feng Tu spoke again. "All right, who here is Cao Bong?" Hearing the judge call his name, he was startled and quickly stood up. He thought something bad was about to happen, but unexpectedly, Feng Tu suddenly applauded and congratulated him for being the top scorer in the written test. He praised Cao Bong without stopping. As Feng Tu finished speaking, the hall erupted in chatter. In the blink of an eye, you became the center of everyone's attention. Gradually regaining his composure, Cao Bong glanced at Vuong Tu with a proud look. "Cao Bong, the contestant with the highest score must have disappointed you, right?" Vuong Tu gritted his teeth in anger. The harsh words were ready at the tip of his tongue, but he dared not say them in front of the judges. After the first round, Vuong Tu led the qualified contestants to the place for the second test. As soon as they stepped through that door, a spacious and bright room appeared before them. At this moment, Vuong Tu began announcing the rules for the martial arts examination. The martial arts test was simple. In the room behind, Vuong Tu monsters provided by the association had been arranged. Contestants only needed to upgrade the quality of the monsters within 1 week to pass the test. And all materials consumed by contestants during the test would be paid for by the association. However, if they failed to upgrade the monster's quality, the contestants would have to compensate the association at market price. More importantly, the fuel available to contestants was limited. Exceeding the limit by too much would be considered a failure. Then an examiner named Li Tian came in and invited each person to draw their room card. Finally, Cao Bong understood why the certification for becoming a beast trainer was one of the hardest to obtain, because drawing the room card randomly meant you never knew what kind of monster you would face. Vung Tu, waiting in line behind, started putting on a smug, mocking smile. Cao Bong must be scheming something to embarrass me in front of everyone. When it was Cao Bong's turn to draw the room card, he prayed silently to get a good draw. But what he didn't know was that inside the styrofoam box was a royal beast, and the ticket he drew was deliberately placed there. The examiner smiled wickedly at him as he drew the ticket as if he had planned this all along. After all contestants had drawn their tickets, Vung Tu announced that the official round had begun. Very quickly, Cao Bong approached the door of the room he drew, room 10. The person in charge of this room was Chun Nguyen. As Cao Bong went forward to shake hands and got ready to swipe the card to open the door, his expression instantly changed to one of shock. Before his eyes was a cage holding a monster so terrifying it made one tremble just looking at it. At that moment, the system displayed the monster's information. The monster's name was Hong Tui Vien, a level 10 monster of normal quality wood attribute, with a negative disease status and spirit decline indicating a negative monster rating. Cao Bong immediately asked Chun Nguyen what had actually happened. Chun Nguyen avoided his gaze and said that this Hong Tui Vien had been subjected to too many experiments. It still had a large amount of toxic gas and conflicting energies inside its body. Originally, this Hong Tui Vien had been discarded, but the association no longer had any other monsters left for Cao Bong to nurture. From Chun Nguyen's memory a few minutes earlier, this plan was deliberately arranged by the examiner Li Tian. He had accepted money from that jerk Vung Tu, and had to ensure that Cao Bong couldn't pass this round. Chun Nguyen, powerless and small-voiced, could only say that the reason Hong Tui Vien had survived until today was thanks to its own strong will. But its ability to upgrade now was a goal far beyond normal difficulty. If you want to retain your results and go straight to the martial arts round next time, he would help you. Cao Bong thought for a moment, then turned to stare intently at Hong Tui Vien, and declined Chun Nguyen's offer. Chun Nguyen shrugged, speechless, only able to wish him good luck, before leaving the room, leaving Cao Bong alone to face Hong Tui Vien. After Chun Nguyen left, Cao Bong observed Hong Tui Vien carefully again. Its large arm looked distorted and deformed, and in some parts there was swelling due to fluid retention. At this moment, Hong Tui Vien looked at the person in front of it with a helpless gaze. Its eyes trembled with the desperate desire to upgrade, but many in the past had given up on helping it upgrade, saying it was beyond saving. Thinking of this, Hong Tui Vien clenched the bars with all its might and let out a fierce roar. The pitiful cries echoed continuously throughout the room. It shed tears looking at Cao Bong, thinking he would leave, but Cao Bong stayed. At that moment, a warm hand placed on its head. Cao Bong gently smiled warmly and promised it that he would definitely help it level up. Cao Bong began checking the plan to help Hong Tui Vien upgrade, but the system notification that appeared surprised him when there were two paths to help Hong Tui Vien level up. One is normal evolution to dispel the negative attribute impurities in the body, then evolve into an elite quality Hong Tui Vien. The other is twisted pathological evolution, absorbing the negative attribute power, completely eliminating the weaknesses of the negative system with a high probability of evolving into a new creature. The lowest quality is elite, but the amount of materials needed for normal evolution would consume too much, exceeding the competition's regulations. After seriously considering the two methods and materials, Cao Bong finally chose the second option. The system immediately displayed instructions to evolve twisted pathology. Half a caddy of black fortune grass is needed, taken 3 doses continuously for 3 days. After 3 days, take a monster core pill with elite spirit attribute, add 3 liang of luminescent powder and a quantity of skull mushrooms, 3 qian of dried grass to soak Hong Tui Vien in. Cao Bong wrote the list of required materials on paper and gave it to Chun Nguyen. After reading it, he hesitated and doubted asking because the materials Cao Bong gave were all toxic. The employee didn't understand if Cao Bong wanted to nurture Hong Tui Vien or kill it. Cao Bong confidently replied that it was using poison to fight poison, then told the employee not to worry because he knew the limits. Then he closed the door, leaving Chun Nguyen holding the list with many questions. Chun Nguyen turned away. His attitude changed, scolding him for being just a bookworm who only memorizes. Some people enter standing tall and proud, but leave carried out on a stretcher. Some enter with thick black hair, but leave without a single strand. Meanwhile, Hong Tui Vien had been on poison for many consecutive days. Yet its mental state kept improving. Its previous wounds also almost completely healed. The monster core pill with the spirit attribute had started to take effect. Now only the final step remained, soaking Hong Tui Vien in the acid to complete the process. But the problem now was that monsters without blood contracts had difficulty connecting complex thoughts. Originally, the monsters supplied by the association basically had no offensive nature. But this Hong Tui Vian had been used in experiments and tortured no less than 10 times, so it was uncertain whether it would attack or not. Cao Bong thought for a moment. Letting it go now was risky, but giving up at the end would waste all previous efforts. Now he had no choice but to trust Hong Tui Vian. Cao Bong took a deep breath and opened the cage door. Suddenly, a figure quickly darted toward him. He thought Hong Tui Vian would attack, but it nestled its head into his chest, acting clingy. Cao Bong gently comforted it, then reached to pull back the white curtain. Before him was a bathtub filled with specially prepared blue acid solution ready. The water in the tub emitted black smoke. This was an acid bath containing all kinds of poisons from heaven and earth. He told Hong Tui Vian to endure soaking in that water. He guaranteed it would transform immediately. Quickly, Hong Tui Vian plucked a tuft of fur from behind and threw it into the tub. Very soon, the water emitted a black smoke that terrified Hong Tui Vian, which shook its head violently to show it didn't want to soak in the tub. Seeing this, Cao Bong reached out to stroke its head. He could give it strength, but it had to have courage first. As if empowered, Hong Tui Vian stood up cautiously, dipped a foot in, then slowly submerged itself. The black smoke thickened, triggering the fire alarm as the anti-fire warning in room 10 sounded. Security staff asked nearby employees to quickly handle the situation to prevent the fire from spreading. Wang Thu stood aside, looking smug, thinking that his connections had made this good thing happen. Everyone thought Cao Bong had made a mistake that caused the fire. But when the enforcement staff kicked the door open, the scene before everyone made them gasp in shock. Because inside the room there wasn't a single flame, only thick black smoke. Cao Bong turned his head and saw everyone standing there not understanding what was happening. Trung Nguyen pointed out to him that the fire alarm was ringing. That's why everyone ran over to check. Cao Bong laughed because he was so focused on Hong Tui Vian that he forgot everything around him. Only when they saw that nothing was wrong did everyone turn off the alarm and gradually withdraw. But this commotion also caught the attention of Judge Fung Tu. Even a staff member quietly explained to him that these were all strange phenomena caused by monster nourishment. Other contestants ran over to watch, thinking Cao Bong had failed. Fung Tu looked around but couldn't see Hong Tui Vian confident that he had successfully defeated Cao Bong. But at that moment, the water surface, which had been calm amidst life's chaos, suddenly stirred. A bony hand wrapped in a layer of purple light reached out. Then a skeleton emitting purple light gradually emerged from the water. In the two eye sockets of the skull, two flames were burning. The onlooking contestants were scared out of their wits as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. The skeleton leapt out of the bathtub to the astonished eyes of those around. The appearance of this monster was rare and hard to find as the large skeleton had no flesh or blood at all. The bones were connected only by red threads. Everyone was somewhat startled by this sight. Even Fung Tu was dumbfounded and amazed. Cao Bong didn't expect the system to be so useful, successfully completing the evolution. Twisted Hong Tui Vian evolved into Hai Kot Vong Vian, leveling up to 11, belonging to the elite monster system with perfect quality in a weakened but excited state. But this was only the first test. Later on, as long as he had enough materials, he could upgrade any monster. He began to examine the skeleton, discovering the purple aura surrounding it could be touched, and the bones seemed to be made of metal. Li Tian excitedly said this might be a completely new type of monster. Moreover, it was a rare spirit-type monster, very valuable. Hearing this, Fung Tu was secretly pleased because spirit-type monsters were rarely seen even within the Alliance. But what interested him wasn't this new monster type, but Cao Bong, the one who created it. Cao Bong was about to leave, but Hai Kot grabbed his shirt and put on a pitiful face as if afraid of being abandoned. Cao Bong gently pushed it away and said he had already helped improve its quality. What else was it unhappy about? The skeleton just looked at him pitifully like a child about to be left behind. Li Tin, standing nearby, couldn't help but smile slyly. Monsters that successfully level up are usually assigned to staff within the association. He was uninterested in the previous monsters, so he didn't bother to compete, but with this one he was determined to get it no matter what. At this moment, seeing that the monster relied heavily on Cao Bong, Fung Tu decided to gift Hai Kot Fong Vian to him. Cao Bong looked at Hai Kot Fong Vian and then pointed to himself to confirm with Fung Tu. Although this was a new monster not yet recorded in the data list and its attributes were unknown, judging by its appearance, it was definitely successfully leveled up, so it was natural to give it to him. Cao Bong looked at the information board and fell into thought. Originally, it was ordinary quality. After leveling up to perfect quality, just breaking through 20 more levels could upgrade it to monster leader rank. But after looking at the information, Cao Bong concluded differently. Hai Kot Fong Vian already met the standards of a monster leader and belonged to a rare spirit type. At this point, Li Tian interrupted everyone's thoughts in the hall. He said this violated the rules. According to association protocol, monsters that level up successfully are usually rewarded to staff members. Moreover, Hong Tui Vian had undergone 6 experiments. It wasn't certain this experiment caused its level up. Before Lai Tian could finish speaking, Vuong Tu ran over to add fuel to the fire. He believed that Chao Bong was too young to have possibly caused a monster about to rank up to become impoverished. He was firmly convinced that Chao Bong had cheated. Feng Tu coldly questioned the two who were praising each other like a married couple about how Chao Bong had cheated. Although Li Tian couldn't explain clearly, he still insisted that Chao Bong had definitely cheated. Because he thought this challenge was too difficult beyond what a novice beast tamer could handle, he believed that maybe Chao Bong got lucky by somehow learning a method, then went all in and either won it all or lost everything, so he got lucky and cured the monster. So the result might not truly reflect Chao Bong's real ability. Feng Tu showed no expression. If what that Li Tian said was true, should Chao Bong's test result be cancelled now? At this point, Li Tian no longer bothered to hide his true intention. He suggested not cancelling Chao Bong's result, but still giving him the certificate, only that the monster had to follow the association's rules. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Tu burst out laughing. Then he turned to Chao Bong and said it was all because he had poorly managed things that Chao Bong was being mocked. There were very few capable beast tamers in Chang'an City, so frogs like Li Tian didn't know the vastness of the world. Chao Bong sighed deeply. He just came to get a certificate and yet was being criticized. Being young doesn't mean you cheat. Just because Lai Tian can't do it doesn't mean Chao Bong can't either. If you can't be humble, then you might as well be a little arrogant. Chao Bong's usually casual expression became serious, educating fools like Lai Tian a little more. The Tui in Hong Tui Vian's name only means it lives by the Hong Tui River, not that it actually has the water attribute. Assuming a monster has the water attribute just because Tui is in its name is utterly foolish. Based on previous tests, those who experimented on Hong Tui Vian fed it a large amount of water and yin materials without knowing its weakness was actually the yin attribute. Chao Bong then threw shade at Vuong Tu. If you can't even understand this basic knowledge, then no matter how long you live, you'll just be a symbol. Though he didn't name him directly, Vuong Tu still felt humiliated. He stubbornly insisted that Chao Bong was talking nonsense. The weakness of Hong Tui Vian is the Mu Wood attribute, that's right. Feng Tu, standing nearby, couldn't hear Vuong Thu's nonsense any longer. Although Hong Tui Vian reacts fearfully to the Mu attribute, its true weakness is indeed the Yin attribute. And this was also part of the knowledge tested in the exam. Feng Tu's words finally shut down Vuong Thu's non-stop jabbering. Chao Bong continued explaining because the chaotic energy in Hong Tui Vian had deeply penetrated its bones and blood, and was hard to remove completely. He used a method opposite to the old trail. 3 days ago, the reason he gave it black bamboo grass was to increase its soul power. Then he gave it a large amount of spirit materials. Finally, he used spirit core to stimulate it. Chao Bong wasn't afraid to reveal these details publicly, but still wanted to remind everyone not to casually try this method. Because the most important thing is the order of use and the precise ratio between the materials. As soon as he finished, Feng Tu applauded and stepped closer to praise him. Truly a promising young talent. He said with Chao Bong's ability, it would be unfair if he only received a novice certificate. He told Chao Bong he would be awarded the Intermediate Beast Tamer certificate. As for the Advanced Beast Tamer certificate, Chao Bong would need to take the exam at the Beijing headquarters to obtain it. But with his ability, that would be nothing. Regarding cheating, Feng Tu coldly turned his head and sternly interrogated who exactly cheated. He looked at Lai Tian with contempt, thinking, did he really believe the association head like him didn't know anything? Feng Tu continued questioning why Hong Tui Vian, originally an experimental subject that had been discarded, appeared in today's exam. As soon as he finished speaking, Chun Nguyen raised his hand to accuse Li Tian of deliberately putting Hong Tui Vian on the contestant list. The reason he did this was because he had accepted favors from contestant Vuong Tu, and all the evidence recorded was related to monsters. Vuong Tu was so scared he almost peed his pants, collapsing to the floor. This time he was truly finished. Vuong Tu immediately flew into a rage. If both witnesses and evidence were sufficient in the name of the president of the Beast Tamer Association of Thun Trung An, he declared contestant Vuong Tu disqualified from this competition and banned from participating in any Beast Tamer contests for the next 3 years. And Chief Judge Li Tian would not be spared either. He was expelled from the Beast Tamer Association and would never be rehired. After handling everything, Vuong Tu politely spoke to Chao Bong about today's events that had made him smile. Brother Lian invited Chao Bong to his office for a cup of tea. More importantly, Fung Tu had a small favor he needed Chaobong to help with. Standing at the bus stop, Chaobong opened his certificate to look at it. He even got an extra 30 points for the university entrance exam. Chaobong stepped onto the bus, thinking this trip had been a big win for him. Not only did he catch an elite monster, but he also received a status token. An hour earlier in the office, Fung Tu discussed wanting Chaobong to represent Thun Trung An in the World Beast Tamer competition. Because in both quantity and quality, the Thun Trung An Beast Tamers hadn't been very optimistic. That's why, in recent years, Thun Trung An had never achieved good results in other Beast Tamer contests. The world has changed in the past 3 years. The World Beast Tamer contests still have no age restrictions. Whether old, middle-aged, or young, everyone starts from the same point. But in terms of growth potential, it's definitely talented youth who have the advantage. Someone like Chaobong would have a much greater edge. After listening to Fung Tu talk non-stop, Chaobong could only smile awkwardly and raised both hands to decline Fung Tu's offer. Seeing his reaction, Fung Tu deliberately said that all the top-ranked contestants could win prize money. Those in the top 10 could win at least 10,000 credit points. Money can't solve everything, but a lot of money is a different matter. Hearing about such a big prize, Chaobong suddenly stood up, cutting off Fung Tu. Is this even pressure? The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. I'll go to this competition. At that moment, while Chaobong was still thinking, 2 men in the back seat began whispering about Anyai, the new name of the skeleton. Go! The blonde-haired man sitting next to them reached out to grab a bone from Anyai to see what would happen. But moments later, several pink threads tightly wrapped around his hand. Anagai's whole body emitted a chilling coldness. It suddenly turned its head 180 degrees to face the blonde man. The blonde man was so scared he trembled, but his mouth was tightly bound by the pink threads. Just as Angai was about to stab his eye with a fingernail bone, Chaobong called it back in time, saying that to feed his child, the big guy could only sell himself. The big guy has eaten a lot already. Judging by his size, he must eat quite a bit. Raising kids is really tough for Dad. Although complaining, Chaobong smiled brightly, as if newly confident and proud, saying, "Who told you you're not only handsome beyond your years, but also highly gifted?" While he was speaking, 2 people nearby were talking back and forth. They were surprised that even without signing a contract with the monster, he could command it so well. Truly a main character. A moment later, Chaobong got off the bus near his home. Planning to look for the girl, Dung to discuss something, a chill suddenly came from behind him. Angai immediately sensed something was wrong. Worried Chaobong might be in danger, it pushed him to the side. Then it gently blocked the surprise attack. Chaobong held his aching back and stepped forward, saying, "You can rest assured because the one who attacked them just now is the great beast. From now on, we are family." Seeing the creature standing in front of him, Chaobong's mouth twitched, stammering as he called the great beast's name. It's only been a few days, but the great beast has clearly gotten fatter. At that moment, the girl, Dung, stepped forward to greet him. She said that she and the great beast had come to pick him up. Seeing Dung approach, Chaobong pointed toward the chubby great beast and stammered, asking what had happened to it. Dung Tan laughed and asked Chaobong if he noticed that the great beast looked stronger. She said proudly that she had fed the great beast plenty of internal strength-nourishing food. Chaobong felt like a storm was brewing inside him when he saw the system board pop up notifying that the great beast was overnourished. Angai glanced at the great beast and judged that compared to that lump of meat, its firm body was still favored more. Angai felt secretly triumphant. Meanwhile, Dung patted Chaobong on the shoulder and asked how he did in the competition. Chaobong shyly scratched the back of his neck and said the competition went okay. He casually encountered a level 6 monster and helped it level up successfully. Then he gently obtained the Intermediate Beast Tamer certificate. Finally, the head of the Beast Tamer Association awarded that monster to him. Chaobong said this while pointing at Anyai. Dung was stunned for a few seconds after hearing him. She was surprised because he joined the Novice Beast Tamer competition, but received an intermediate certificate. Seeing Dung still doubtful, Chaobong pulled out the Ryan grade certificate. Dung smiled gently and said to him, "Your growth speed really surprised me." There was something she originally intended to tell him later, but today was the perfect opportunity. Do you know why the status of a guardian is so high? Simply put, no matter how strong a guardian is, the core is still an external secret technique. The guardian's soul transfer is a secret technique that can redirect all physical damage the user suffers to their guardian beast's body. However, the range is limited, and only the guardian beast can actively choose to activate it. But the guardian beast's defense is something no human can match. As the Guardian Beast upgrades, it gains stronger life force and defensive power. After Chaobong finished learning, he immediately felt himself and the great beast bound together by an invisible thread. Chaobong began to doubt Dung Dung's identity since she could pull out such a secret manual. While daydreaming, his eyes caught the face of the great beast's master. It looked no different than a purple sweet potato. Seeing the great beast argue back, he called on Nyai to bring a mirror over. The great beast looked at itself in the mirror and froze. It lay motionless on the floor as if it no longer cared about anything in life. Chaobong patted its head and told it to stop playing dead. He required the great beast to exercise these past few days to lose fat in order to upgrade its quality. Thinking about riding a chubby great beast to fly across the sky made Chaobong's hair stand on end. On the second day at the Trung An Center, Chaobong went to the meeting spot to meet Dung Dung. Dung Dung invited him out because she wanted him to join her small company specializing in monster cultivation. Because previously a partner fled with the money, the company was currently understaffed. But before she could finish, Chaobong suddenly doubted because Dung Dung's company was located in the busiest area of the city center. The rent must be expensive. Dung Dung flinched and stammered to explain that business was good before, so she rented there. But since the beast Tamers left, business gradually declined. Seeing her smile awkwardly and stammer as she explained, Chaobong felt that today she seemed a bit off, very different from usual. After speaking, Dung Dung led him inside. She introduced the office as being on the 3rd floor. Regarding salary, it was based on the highest industry standard. Additionally, Chaobong would get an extra 20% shares. She pressed the elevator button while assuring Chaobong that she wouldn't interfere with his studies. He only needed to come once on weekends. The work of a beast tamer was very light. Chaobong was a bit tense because this salary was very high in the market. It wasn't a big deal that some beast tamers could casually recruit 2 people. But Dung Dung thought that not having any beast tamers was just a minor issue. But reputation being affected is the bigger issue. Better to have less than to choose recklessly. At this moment, Chaobong began to secretly doubt. First, the method of the beast tamer's growth, then taking out a shop in a bustling area right in the city center and offering such generous perks. Chaobong immediately suspected this was a trap. But the one setting this trap was actually Dung Dung. For 3 years, he's been an orphan alone. Without Dung Dung's silent help, it would have been truly difficult. Thinking of this, he dismissed the idea that Dung Dung would harm him. Generous treatment wasn't a problem because, compared to his actual strength, it wasn't an issue. He was determined to earn a lot of money for Dung Dung later. Then he smiled and said he would follow whatever arrangement Dung Dung made. Hearing this, she happily glanced back and agreed to cooperate. But at this moment, inside Dung Dung's heart, she was more startled as if a storm had just passed. She feared Chaobong would discover something was wrong. The 2 quickly reached the 3rd floor. At this moment, a cute girl hurried toward them. This girl's name was Queen. She wore a gray vest and had shoulder-length short hair. Dung Dung introduced the 2 to her, then quickly ran into the elevator to start working. Chaobong sighed deeply, thinking this girl was deceiving people, but revealing too many loopholes. Then Queen helped Chaobong input the information. While working, she glanced gently at Chaobong and was a bit surprised because he looked too young for the position of intermediate beast tamer. She guessed that the boss Dung Dung was foolish wealthy and being deceived by a young guy again. Chaobong was secretly thinking he had to earn a lot of money to repay Dung Dung. The fee standards also needed to be reset. He wasn't like other beast tamers. Just following his own method, it seemed all beasts would upgrade successfully. If so, the fees couldn't be charged like other beast tamers. Although Chaobong wasn't greedy if he charged too little, it would be disrespectful to the system and to his own golden hand. So he reluctantly accepted taking a loss and set the price 3 times higher than the highest price of an intermediate beast tamer. At this moment, Queen returned the certificate to her and asked Chaobong if he was sure about setting the price 3 times higher than the highest intermediate beast tamer price. Because he had never worked at the company, he still didn't fully understand that. Price is not set by principles. If there are customers, it's one thing, but if it affects the office's reputation, that's a big problem. Chaobong's expression immediately turned serious and asked what she meant. But at that moment, suddenly, a young man pushed the door open and cut off his words. He demanded Chaobong prove to everyone he was really worth 3 times the highest market price. His eyes bloodshot, he stepped forward aggressively, saying if Chaobong healed his beast, he would immediately pay 10 times. Mr. Ma angrily pointed directly at Chaobong and shouted 10 times. As long as my beast upgrades successfully, I'll pay you 10 times the price. Next to him, Queen stammered, trying to calm the atmosphere, saying, Sir, please calm down. Chaobong calmly faced Mr. Ma and replied, That's not necessary. He smiled, held up 3 fingers in front of him, and said, "This is my first time taking an order, so since you're a VIP customer, let's say 3 times is enough." Mr. Ma's face darkened, looking doubtful, and asked, "So you're confident you can cure my beast?" Cao Bong smiled, raised his palm, and calmly said, "No rush." "Where's your beast? I have to see it first before I can give you a definite answer." Mr. Ma picked up a green box, turned toward Cao Bong, and angrily said, "Fine, I'll trust you this one time, kid," saying that he took out a small, injured creature trembling in his palm from the box. Quin couldn't help but feel moved when she saw the creature and asked, "Who is this?" Cao Bong stood behind, observing the condition of the creature before him. The creature had purple fur with spreading red streaks on its body. It was still trembling in Mr. Ma's palm, impatiently making a sound or two. The system displayed information about the creature in front of Cao Bong. Name 2DNT. In a level 19 elite mutation. Conflict state elite quality. Lightning attribute lightly injured. Distressed weakness in mud attribute. Cao Bong read the line of information on the system, suddenly widened his eyes, and said, "Wait, this is..." The system screen turned red, showing a danger warning for mutation conflict state. "Please handle quickly." Cao Bong immediately asked Mr. Ma, "What did you feed it to make it change like this?" Mr. Ma was startled and couldn't say anything at first. Later, his face darkened, showing embarrassment, and said, "I fed it a blood jade branch, hoping it would evolve." Mr. Ma raised his hand holding 2DNT and pleaded with Cao Bong, "Can you cure it? Please." Cao Bong placed one hand under his chin, seriously thinking, "Actually, this 2DNT is already in the process of evolving. It's just that the conflict between blood and lightning powers caused the current result." The system displayed evolutionary mutation, requires 15 dark obsession fruits, 11 red wind, heart leaves some thunder, gold leaves to be crushed and cooked into a soup. Add a monster core blood drop of elite grade to the soup. Cao Bong said, therefore, we must follow the system's plan for conflict mutation to complement each other, so that this 2DN can complete its evolution. Cao Bong turned to Queen and said, 5 dark obsession fruits, 1 red wind, heart leaf, thunder, gold leaf, and 1 monster core blood drop. Hurry up. Queen responded urgently. He glanced back at Mr. Ma and reminded the rules of the beast trainer. "You know we can help you get the materials from the guild, but you have to pay the fees yourself." Mr. Ma said no problem. Cao Bong gently looked at the trembling 2DNT and said, "Little treasure, don't worry with me here, it'll be hard for you to fail evolving." The room door closed. Cao Bong had equipped all necessary gear. He put on gloves, standing under the light. Quinn and Mr. Ma looked at the scene and couldn't help but ask, "Is this definitely the way to upgrade our 2DNT?" Cao Bong confirmed, holding a knife in one hand and holding 2DNT tightly with the other, smiling calmly said, "Yes. What's the problem?" Queen and Mr. Ma panicked and said, "Tell us." Cao Bong quickly put 2DNT into the soup pot. Mr. Ma saw this and rushed to stop him. "Don't." Queen stood behind with a helpless expression, holding a computer, pressing keys and saying, "How much is this going to cost?" 2DNT was put into the soup pot, spinning dizzy. Cao Bong, holding the soup ladle, showed goodwill by scooping a spoonful up to his face with a dangerous look, said Rat Soup. "Want a sip?" Yin supplements Yang. Mr. Ma painfully held his head and said, "No." Cao Bong opened the pot lid, smiling, said, "Don't worry, just joking to lighten the mood, Mr. Ma. Have you looked at 2DNT? With an expression of enjoyment, Cao Bong explained, "This isn't just cooking soup. It's a medicinal broth prepared to help your beast absorb the medicinal properties faster." Cao Bong's eyes shone brightly. Then he quietly closed the lid and said, "A big mission is coming. This rat needs 2 more batches stew for another 10 minutes. Mr. Ma kept staring at Cao Bong's wicked face, thinking silently, "I have to stay calm. I have to stay calm. There are only 2 high-level beast trainers in Chang'an City, both very important figures with high status, basically not available." Mr. Mum thought, "Now I can only trust Cao Bong to try. At least he's a mid-level beast trainer, but if anything happens, I have my own tricks." Time passed quickly. 10 minutes went by. Mr. Ma anxiously asked, "Cao Bong, finished yet, master?" "Cao Bong, isn't the cooking time a bit long?" Cao Bong reassured him. "Don't worry, it's almost done." Cao Bong looked at the soup pot and just finished saying, "Here it comes." Sounds came from inside the pot, causing the lid to shake. Mr. Ma stood aside, confused, and didn't understand what was happening. A loud explosion followed by white smoke burst the pot lid open. Inside, the smoke 2DNT lay curled up in the pot. Its eyes suddenly opened wide, glowing red. 2D&T dashed out of the smoke, throwing the pot up, then quickly sped through, knocking over the keyboard, even scattering the documents. Finally, it landed on the table. Mr. Mon excitedly said it worked my beast, successfully upgraded. But Queen behind the scenes wasn't happy at all. She painfully held her head and said, "Oh my God, the system treatment room just showed an image of a purple rat with a red streak on its fur giving new information. Name 2DN Wheat Tea. Level 20 elite rank, perfect quality attribute, thunder and blood." Cao Bong happily said, "You're in luck, this is it. With perfect quality, just a little more nurturing, and it can be upgraded to a leader-level divine beast." Mr. Ma gently held 2DN Wheat Tea in his hands, looking at it joyfully, and said, "I apologize for my earlier disrespect. I didn't expect my divine beast to really be able to evolve. Thank you so much." Mr. Cao Bong smugly handed the invoice to Mr. Ma and said cheerfully, "No need to thank me, you pay and I serve. Right here's the damage to my office plus consulting fees. Please settle everything together later." Mr. Ma said without hesitation, "No problem." Cao Bong turned to Queen, handing her the bill with instructions. "Please use this order to deliver the materials to my house later. The cost will be deducted from my salary." Queen replied, "Okay." Mr. Ma looked admiringly, his eyes shining as he held the 2D and Huit tea in front of Cao Bong and said, "Mr. Cao Bong, I also want you to check my last royal beast. Is your schedule open for an appointment tomorrow? Is it a training class from the association or a hereditary method from some grand master?" Cao Bong calmly put on his coat and said, "What are you thinking?" He threw the white coat over his shoulder, carried the bag, stood at the door, and said, 3 years of high school education is enough. I have to go do my homework." Queen and Mr. Ma were stunned and couldn't believe their ears. Mr. Ma said, "Are high school students nowadays all this scary?" Queen said, "Sister Dung just bought this office at a high price a few days ago, disbanded all the Beastmasters, and told me to keep it a secret, tricking Cao Bong. I thought rich people just play casually. Turns out she's a real expert." Elsewhere, a hand held a spirit core and said, "This core's quality isn't bad." Dung sat cross-legged on a chair with the illusion of Long Hai holding a glass of wine, watching. Dung raised her arm holding the core and ordered, "Send this over to me." The illusion of Long Hai glanced and said, "Forget it." Sunlight streamed through the window frame and the illusion of Long Hai faded, sticking to the wall outside the window, watching Dai Tu's actions. The illusion of Long Hai dropped the spirit core through the window. It rolled to Dai Tu's feet. Dai Tu curiously peeked out from under the chair, then crawled out and stared intently at the spirit core before him. A Dai behind him was puzzled. Without hesitation, Dai Tu crawled forward and ate the spirit core. His expression shifted from joy to disgust as he started chewing, then he jerked suddenly, causing a Dai to worry. Outside, Cao Bong held 2 bags of vegetables and talked as he walked. 15 pounds of yin blood Tong Kim is enough food for a Dai for a month. A Dai is now perfect quality. If he keeps evolving, he'll reach the death quality rank. I've only heard of death quality monsters in books and on TV. Still need to keep supplementing a Dai. After some time, he thought continuing to evolve would be better. Cao Bong's face suddenly tightened, showing worry. He said with Dai Tu, it's even more important not to rush. To upgrade, you need a Thunder System Monster Spirit Core above level 10, which is very hard to find. Cao Bong said sadly that even if he found one, he wouldn't afford to buy it. Suddenly, Cao Bong sensed something wrong from his room. It seemed to be about a Dai. His face darkened, anxious, thinking something was wrong inside the house. Without hesitation, he dropped the bags of vegetables and hurried back to his room. Cao Bong hurriedly, his legs moving swiftly up the stairs, rushing toward his door. Cao Bong slammed the door open and shouted, "A Dai!" In front of him, Dai Tu was lying on its back, rolling on the floor, foaming at the mouth, while a Dai stood watching. Suddenly, the system announced a message. The offspring named Huang Chaun Go is evolving. Common quality level 8, consuming large amounts of blood meat, and the Thunderstorm Diamond Centipede Monster Spirit Core Z, because it belongs to the Z species. At the same time, the evolution direction of offspring Huang Chaun Go is progressing. Cao Bong looked at the system info in shock, eyes wide, asking, "Is the Thunderstorm Diamond Centipede Spirit Core evolving?" Cao Bong sat down, looking at the trembling Dai Tu before him, hand on his chin, wondering how it could eat such a precious item. He opened his eyes and glanced toward the door, saying, "Sister Dung." Holding a bag of items, he stepped out, looking embarrassed, and coughed. Kaobong looked at Dung Dung and asked, "Sister, Dung Dung, did you give this spirit core to Dai-Tu to eat?" Kaobong began to lose his composure, standing in front of Dung Dung, and said, "Sis, why bother? You could have just told me beforehand." Dung Dung was speechless and could only say, "Ah ha ha," trying to keep calm. Dung Dung raised the bag in her hand and said, "Ah, sis came to bring you your stuff." But inside, Dung Dung thought, "If I'd told you beforehand, you definitely wouldn't have taken it." She put down the 2 bags and said, "Look, you just threw your things halfway and didn't care." She quickly ran toward the door, happily waving her hand and saying, "Earning money for just a few days and already wasting it like this." After saying this, Dung Dung quickly left Kaobong's room and said, "All right, you rest early, I won't bother you anymore." Leaving Kaobong standing silently, unable to say anything except 2 words, "That's Dung sis." Kaobong helplessly said that there's a kind of person who needs to be called sister. Dung Dung, he felt that you need one. Kaobong turned and used the back of his head to bump Dai-Tu, who was still dizzy, scolding him for being gluttonous. "Don't just eat everything you see from now on, got it?" He sat down cross-legged, resting his chin on his hand, looking at the system screen in frustration, and said, "On the other hand, Dai-Tu is like this, can't just ignore it either. Is there any way to make it finish upgrading quickly?" Kaobong hurriedly pulled out everything he had on him, like screws balls, some bottles of medicine and a branch, and said, "This won't work, not this one neither." His eyes stopped on a branch with purple flowers, and he said happily, "Found it. Just need to grind the mid-level 2 Dokhwa into medicine and feed it to Dai-Tu to help it evolve." Without delay, Kaobong quickly went to the kitchen, used the blender, and started making the medicine. He gave the freshly made cup of medicine to Dai-Tu and said, "Drink it quickly." Dai-Tu's eyes suddenly lit up with red light, and it flew up, surrounded by golden light, filling Kaobong's entire room with golden light, which even shattered the window glass. From within the smoke, the image of a long horn and a large body glowing golden Dai-Tu's new form gradually became clearer, appearing powerfully in front of Kaobong. The system displayed information about Dai-Tu's new form: name, Tuboy Loingo, level 9, elite quality attributes, thunder and poison system. To perfectly upgrade quality requires powdered silverleaf grass and water to be consumed continuously for 1 week. Thunder system, monster core leader level. Kaobong read the information and smiled, saying, "Finally, it's over. Didn't expect it to be so easy for Dai-Tu to reach elite level. This is the joy of having big feet to hug, huh?" After a while, Dai-Tu collapsed, lying flat on the floor, surprising Adai, and leaving Kaobong helpless. Dai-Tu lay exhausted on the floor. Adai came closer worriedly, but Kaobong placed his hands on his hips and smiled calmly to comfort. "Adai, Dai-Tu usually troubles you a lot, yet you still care. Don't worry, it's just exhausted." Kaobong turned and handed a bowl of tofu to Adai, saying, "Compared to your appearance, aren't you too kind? Today I specially bought this for you to eat." Adai looked confused at the bowl of tofu, reaching out to take a piece. Adai started to put the piece of tofu into his mouth, but it passed through his body, blackened, and fell out of Adai's stomach. Kaobong handed the bowl of tofu to Adai, who was holding a broom, and reassured him, "Good, keep eating." Kaobong looked at Adai with a bright smile and said, "You just finished upgrading, so it's better to stay stable. Wait for me to find the most suitable materials before I let you upgrade again. You will definitely become an incredibly powerful beast." Not long after, Dai-Tu was completely healthy again. It laughed joyfully, full of vitality. Dai-Tu looked toward the sofa and saw Kaobong leaning on the chair, tired, with his face buried. Behind him was Adai leaning against the back of the chair. Dai-Tu smiled and came up with a bold idea. It gnawed on a pink towel and happily walked slowly toward Kaobong. Dung Dung hid behind the door, sneaking a glance. She wondered about the silence before the storm. She looked towards the 3 people, Adai, Dai-Tu, and Kaobong, hugging each other. Although Kaobong's face looked a bit uncomfortable being hugged by Dai-Tu. Looking at that warm scene, Dung Dung said, "Little Bong, hurry up and grow up." A wonderful morning at school. In the principal's office, a silver-haired man angrily slammed the table and said, "I absolutely refuse. How can monsters be allowed into the school?" The man's eyes widened. He shouted that the students at school are still children and not professionally trained. Doesn't anyone up there think about the kids' personal safety? The brown-haired man sitting opposite folded his hands and said, "In this peaceful era at this age, they're still kids. In ancient times, at this age, they would already be armed to protect the nation. The silver-haired man asked, surprised, "So the situation now has become this urgent?" The brown-haired man looked anxious, avoiding eye contact, and said, "Many worlds are researching new technology, but the evolution speed charts of the two cats living in two different environments, gradually emerging from a harmless cat, gradually evolving to adapt to the environment, gradually becoming large and aggressive." The brown-haired man said it was still too slow. Just like that, when one day our science and technology can no longer threaten them, then it will truly be too late. The former principal moved to the classroom. Caobong stood at his desk. All eyes around were focused on him, making him feel anxious. Dam Tien Tien, sitting at the desk in front, looked down and said, "Caobong, did you really pass the intermediate Beastmaster exam?" Caobong admitted, but asked, how do you know?" Dam Tien Tien held up a paper and pointed at the school newspaper. "The youngest Beastmaster in Chang'an breaks the youngest record of the Chang'an Beastmasters Association." His eyes gleamed brightly as he said, "You're on the news." Everyone in the class began to surround Caobong, praising him. "Isn't that right, Caobong? Your famous now really makes our class proud. It's actually at the expense of Tam Li Tu Kung, ha 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 ha. I heard his mom is also at school. As soon as he got home, she started scolding Li Tu Kung for ruining him." Dam Tien Tien rubbed his hands awkwardly in front of Caobong and said, "About that, Caobong, I actually have a small favor to ask you." Without waiting for a question, Caobong immediately raised his hand to refuse, saying, "Then don't say anything," making Dam Tien Tien feel like he was about to turn to stone right there. Caobong glanced at Dam Tien Tien and said, "You said it yourself, a small favor you want to ask. Isn't it just you feeling awkward turning into both of us feeling awkward? Isn't it not worth it?" Dam Tien Tien was angered by Caobong. He frowned, clenched his fists, and said, "You—" But suddenly behind Dam Tien Tien appeared the large figure of Mo Dung Thu Diep. Mo Dung Thu Diep blew Dam Tien Tien's head angrily and scolded, "Why are you all gathering? Go back to your seats." With this command, other students were scared and ran back to their seats, reminding each other, "Yes, run quickly! Run quickly!" Lao Ban is angry now. Mo Dung Thu Diep cleared her throat and declared something. She then seriously stood on the podium and looked down to say, "From now on, worldwide, all schools must urgently reform the 11th grade by adding a Beastmaster course and simultaneously adding a special track." Students feared the Beastmaster school. The TV broadcast a live negotiation recorded by reporters. The image showed two senior leaders shaking hands. It was said this was a project jointly managed by the Education Alliance and the Military Alliance. Students excelling in beast mastery can be directly admitted by prestigious universities or military academies. The whole class was stunned after hearing the latest news from the live TV broadcast. That's not all. Military trainers will arrive soon. Starting this afternoon, students who become specialty students must begin training. All students wishing to become specialty students must quickly come to me after class to register. The whole class began to be amazed, saying, "Such a sudden reform. Could something have happened?" "Yes, and this is a major military project. Is it in the outskirts?" "I heard the situation is very urgent." Caobong remained calm as someone called him. He glanced and asked, Mo Dung Thu. Diep looked at Caobong, pointed outside with one hand, and said, "Come outside. I have something to discuss with you." Caobong responded. When the two were out in the hallway, Mo Dung Thu Diep stood before him, hands on hips, and began to speak. "You performed very well this time. You took the intermediate Beastmaster exam directly. At the meeting, the principal especially praised you. Tomorrow, students from Middle School 7 will come to the school. Hopefully, you Tui or the new students at our school will speak." Caobong shyly raised both hands to show he wanted to refuse, saying, "If it's Mo Dung speaking, then forget it. This kind of thing is way too unsuitable for me." Suddenly, Caobong brightened up and excitedly said to Mo Dung Thu Diep, "Actually, I want to register as a specialty student in beast handling." Mo Dung looked puzzled and asked again, "Why this sudden plan?" She frowned and said, "Beast handling specialty is indeed a very good path, but for you it doesn't have too much significance. Besides, I was in the middle of saying—" Suddenly, the sound of a siren caught attention. Mo Dung looked out the window. Tanks were marching in orderly formation into the school. She said, "Your achievements are very good. Just keep it up as usual. Plus a certificate of intermediate beast trainer to add points. All the famous schools in the area or nearby basically are not a problem for you. You can also try famous foreign schools." She looked down and saw a soldier controlling a beast with a commander behind giving orders, "Hold on tight. "We need soldiers at noon." He replied, "ISR." Ms. Mo said, "If you really want to become a combat beast handler, you can also use your academic achievements to enter a military school. Then register. Although it's related, you don't need to rush like that." Saobong clenched his hands, looked at the window seriously, and said, "Ms. Mo, thank you for thinking of me like that. Going into a military school to become a beast handler is indeed better." He frowned and continued, "But that's too slow. I want to learn more knowledge through real combat training. Quickly mature and become strong." Saobong squinted and smiled lightly, comforting Ms. Mo. "And I can participate in 2 types of exams at the same time, right? I won't miss any opportunity, don't worry." Ms. Mo could only smile helplessly after hearing that. She looked at Saobong and said, "This kid." She turned around and pointed to the sky, saying, "Forget it. If you already have your own way of thinking, I won't stop you. Just hope you can think it through carefully." Saobong quickly bowed to show his gratitude and said thank you. At noon in the school campus, crowds of people bustling back and forth, very lively. Saobong walked behind a group of people. Everyone around turned their eyes to them and said, "Is this group going to participate in the selection?" "Yes, they look very confident and formidable. Seniors, keep it up." Saobong turned around and suddenly saw Dam Tian Tian waving from the crowd loudly. "Saobong, you also registered to become a beast handler student?" Saobong asked confusedly. "Dam Tian Tian?" Dam Tian Tian pushed through the crowd to get closer, making those around very annoyed. He looked at Saobong happily and said, "Aren't you a beast trainer and your achievements are so good?" Saobong didn't bother to look at him and coldly asked, "Your achievements aren't bad either, huh? You also registered." Dam Tian Tian's eyes sparkled as he smiled innocently and said, "Yeah, it's all for childhood dreams. The cartoon I liked most back then was Beast Guardians. The Guardians were super handsome. I want to become the strongest beast handler man. How could I miss this chance?" Saobong asked, "If the strongest beast handler is a man, then what? You also want to become his man." Damn. Tian Tian looked embarrassed, raised his hand quickly to explain. Hey, the strongest beast handler I meant is an adjective, not a noun." Saobong walked ahead coldly and said, "Got it, hurry up." Ahead is the yard. Everyone lined up in groups at the basketball court. Some people looked at the vehicles stopping near the court and couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow, the latest armored vehicles. It's my first time seeing them, too. The plant division is so serious, a bit scary." I feel the same. The teacher extended his hand to invite a large man approaching, saying, "Lieutenant, please." Saobong silently put one hand in his pocket and stood observing. But beside him, Dam Tian Tian crossed his arms, hands behind his head, making a face, and said, "This is our coach. Except he's a bit muscular, there's nothing special." The lieutenant's eyes suddenly narrowed, a hint of red appeared clearly dangerous. As soon as he saw that gaze, Dam Tian Tian standing next to him turned pale and got goosebumps, saying, "Oh man." He frowned, tightly alert. He thought the killing intent was too strong. This lieutenant is not simple. On the podium, the lieutenant continued, "First, I praise you all. Compared to those who dare not come, you are all very brave. You don't really think you've become a beast handler, do you?" The lieutenant's aura flared up like fire, combined with a threatening gaze. He said, "If you don't have firm determination and iron will when you really meet wild beasts, you will just wet yourself. Your legs will be as soft as noodles and you won't be able to run." Those words quickly stirred up the students below. They were angry and retorted, "That's underestimating people too much, right? Aren't you beast handlers who hasn't seen one before?" The lieutenant smirked and said, "Not convinced, huh?" He raised his hand to 2 soldiers leading a large, fierce white wolf forward. The captain said, "Then let you all see." The captain, with a sturdy and imposing figure exuding immense authority, stood still before the trainees along with his beast mare, Silver Moon Wolf. It was a blue-furred wolf mixed with white. Its gaze was extremely intelligent. The captain ordered a junior instructor to proceed. He immediately raised his hand and loudly saluted, "Understood." The junior instructor stood at attention and reported in a strong, clear voice, "Target object 10 centimeters, 3 armor plates established and completed." The captain bent down, looking at Silver Moon Wolf with pride and trust, then whispered to it, "Go." Silver Moon Wolf instantly dashed forward. Silver Moon Wolf rushed toward the armor plate ahead at a speed faster than an arrow. Silver Moon Wolf swung its leg and jumped very high without much effort. It knocked the armor plate far away. Such a sturdy armor plate was quickly cracked and split in 2 by its claws. All the trainees witnessing this were wide-eyed in amazement. Some were scared and even started sweating. Saobong was equally stunned. He looked at the beast Tamer and silently marveled that such thick armor was shattered by a single strike. The captain then turned to speak to everyone with a firm tone, more like a warning than just speaking. Now you've seen clearly this is the damage power of a beast tamer after training. To put it bluntly, the monsters you'll face in the future will have damage power at least this strong, if not stronger. The captain stood above his voice, echoing down to those gathered in the stadium. So this is your last chance. Anyone who wants to quit, step forward now. At first, only one hesitant step was taken, but then many footsteps followed, one after another, leaving. Caobong looked at his peers, turning their backs and leaving, feeling a bit panicked. With so many leaving, it seemed the earlier enthusiastic crowd wasn't small at all. The captain suddenly got angry for some unknown reason and shouted loudly, lowering his head. It turned out he was annoyed by the furtive, timid behavior of the young trainees. A strong and dignified man like the captain couldn't tolerate such shrinking, timid attitudes. He advised them, "You're not doing anything wrong." Although the captain appeared cold and fiery, he was very understanding and empathetic. He smiled and said goodbye to the trainees who were leaving, earnestly advising them to study well. Studying is also a great path. You're not just trainees, you're making a rational decision. Then he ended with a slightly rude but humorous remark, "Now get lost and go study." Then the captain looked at those who stayed behind. The gentle, kind gaze from before had vanished, replaced by a look that seemed ready to devour them all. His voice grew harsher, but for you it was different. You chose to stay. From now on, if anyone gives up, you're a real trainee deserter, and I don't want to see any deserters here. The ones who stayed didn't dare speak loudly, but nodded quietly with cautious, timid attitudes that the captain didn't like. So he ordered loudly again, "Speak louder, I can't hear you." Immediately, all trainees in the stadium shouted in unison, "Understood!" The chest rose with the fiery atmosphere just moments ago. Outside, the air remained very calm. After a few hours at the academy, Caobong returned home. As soon as he entered, he collapsed face down on a chair, sighing heavily in frustration. Caobong sighed wearily. Although he had prepared mentally, he didn't expect the situation to be more serious than he thought. Suddenly, the cute beast tamers saw Caobong return and immediately came over, whining that they were hungry. Exhausted as he was, he still had to feed them. Caobong sighed again. He approached the refrigerator, still pondering the principal's words. According to Principal Tran, today, over the course of a month, the number of registered students from all city schools was about 1,200. Caobong was inwardly worried. That failure rate was too high. Opening the fridge, Caobong saw it was completely empty and exclaimed, "Oh no." Caobong looked around and acted as if he wanted to lift and shake the whole fridge. He asked in confusion, "Where's the frost needle? I left it full here. Where is it?" Caobong stared blankly at the single remaining pine needle in his hand, murmuring it was just one needle. Caobong hurried out to interrogate those beast tamers about what was going on. The sharp-tongued Dai-Tu immediately pointed at Adai and told him to eat it, so he did. Caobong looked at Adai's gentle face but didn't dare to speak harshly, only sighed in frustration. "Adai? What's going on?" Caobong slowly smiled softly. "Next time, if you want to eat more, just tell me, okay?" Seeing Caobong so angry earlier, Adai was afraid he was still mad at him, so he shyly buried his face in the wall, looking incredibly pitiful. Caobong was a bit surprised by this, realizing he really hadn't called the silly guy by mistake. Caobong returned to his research chair, focused on reading according to the display on the attribute frame. Adai needs to absorb 600 pounds of yin snow pine needles to complete Phase 1 of his goal. Caobong looked at his phone screen, showing a successful order of 30 pounds of yin snow pine needles, 10 pounds of thunderflower fruit, and 1 pound of yin snow pine needles, costing 1,000 alliance credits. Eating 15 pounds a day only costs 1.5 credit points, which is manageable. Caobong thought of Adai and quietly rejoiced. Being able to eat was a good thing, helping him absorb more materials and advance to the next evolution stage faster. Adai is currently an elite-level monster. When he levels up, the required materials will be even rarer, some not even for sale then. That will really be burning money. Caobong glanced lightly at the giant snake Dai-Tu. There's also that Dai-Tu. Caobong was happy to see Dai-Tu eating well, but still needed to calculate carefully. To upgrade to perfect quality, Dai-Tu needs to eat 200 pounds of thunderflower fruit. Thunderflower fruit is a bit cheaper than yin snow pine needles. Only 200 alliance credits can buy 1 pound. Caobong sighed wearily at the sight of a single father raising a child. Taking care of a home is really tough. And just like that, a day passed. The next day, Caobong stood in the schoolyard looking around in surprise, wondering if the zoo had opened. The schoolyard was now a chaotic and noisy mess, with students struggling to control their own beast tamers. Endless cries echoed from trying to separate two divine pets about to fight to coaxing lazy pets lounging on trees to come down. Caobong fixed his gaze on a giant pig blocking the path, sighed heavily. Forget the others, this pig is way too showy. Caobong cautiously approached a girl and asked, Is this your beast tamer? Pretty strong, huh? Can you tell it to move aside a bit? The female classmate was very embarrassed and exclaimed, Eek, eek, eek. She recalled when she first bought the pig, it was tiny cute and very obedient looking like an adorable baby. Remembering that made her eyes well up as she confided, It wasn't like this before I bought it. Caobong awkwardly muttered that she didn't understand what he meant at all. At that moment, an instructor happened to walk over. Seeing them standing hesitantly, he asked loudly what was going on. Caobong softly said, Coach. The instructor immediately spotted that the path was blocked by a beast tamer, so he gently ordered Nganjiao to handle the person. Ngunwit Lang immediately bared her fangs and gave a fierce glare at the stubborn pig. In her small form, Ngunwit Lang exuded an intimidating and terrifying aura. The beast tamer saw this and quickly stood up, trembling and hiding behind its owner. The instructor smiled slightly. Is the show over now? If so, let's start training. All students gather on the grass field. Today, every student will have their own beast tamer. The instructor spoke loudly. I know some of you want to sign contracts with multiple beast tamers to form a complete combat team in the future. So today, we're training your command abilities with your beast tamers. This is a basic but very important step. The instructor stood with hands clasped, speaking very seriously. Otherwise, no matter how strong your beast tamer is, if it doesn't listen to commands, it's worthless. Contrary to the stern attitude of Coach Ngunwit Lang, she now stuck out her tongue with a very playful expression. The instructor's voice continued steadily, while the girl with the little pig beast tamer was still embarrassed. Her face flushed red as she kept looking down, clutching her skirt. The instructor continued teaching, assuring the students that everyone had seen the downside just now. Then the instructor sat down, knelt on one knee, and stroked Ngunwit Lang's head, and it immediately cuddled up, leaning its head over. Then the instructor began the lecture, saying that today's training of the royal beast requires understanding its preferences and habits in order to build a good relationship with it. The trainer took very careful and attentive care of Nguyet Lang. He recounted, for example, my Ngunwit Lang because I specifically buy kaiden pork, which it likes best. I personally feed it. Not only feeding, the instructor also engaged in play and activities with Nguyet Lang, sharing all his experience with the trainees. Every day playing and sleeping with it, so now its dependence on me has greatly increased, and it willingly listens to our commands. The trainees immediately erupted in excitement. They were extremely interested in this new knowledge. Seeing this, the instructor continued his lecture. Previously, you saw the royal beast of the colonel break armor with its tail, but actually the tail is not an innate strength of Ngunwit Lang. It's just that through months of systematic training, its tail gradually became sturdier and its striking speed more precise. The instructor raised a finger enthusiastically and explained that in addition to teeth and claws, it gained another attack method. This training by the colonel expands and diversifies its attacks, increasing its advantages. Then the trainer invited another instructor to the podium. Old Lee, show us the Silver Wolf's specialty once more. Old Lee immediately nodded. Old Lee is also a veteran trainer with extensive experience. He continued explaining to the trainees, who are also Silver Moon Wolf handlers. Different combat styles require different training methods and have different development directions. Watch closely. Old Lee flicked the stone in his hand and threw it. The Silver Moon Wolf immediately dashed forward, chasing the stone Old Lee had just thrown. It quickly caught it and crushed the stone. This shows that not only does it have speed, but its destructive power is also terrifying. Caobong and Daitu saw this and were startled, their hearts jolting. Caobong silently thought its bite strength was frighteningly strong. The instructor continued to explain new knowledge. Currently, Nguthu are classified into attack type, defense type, support type, healing type, and control type. These 5 major categories can overlap. Some Nguthu can have multiple functions. Then the instructor gave another example to make it easier to understand, like the 6th demon vine. It can act as a defense type and a control type simultaneously. Some top handlers can even train it into an attack type. After finishing the explanation, the instructor lightly clapped and gave the lesson's assignment, which had been demonstrated to you all. From now on, training officially begins. I suggest starting with simple materials like training bite strength with wood first, then gradually increasing hardness. At this time, the Nguthu, shaped like apes, were actively transporting some materials. The instructor continued regarding the source of materials. We have transported a large quantity of training materials here. Everyone has nothing to worry about. The trainer gestured to the right and said, once you choose your training direction, you can register to receive practice materials. Cao Bong silently thought, hesitating whether Dai Tu still needs more strengthening. Cao Bong looked at Dai Tu, who still hadn't made a decision. Previously, when learning secret techniques to transfer damage, we still focused on improving its defense first. How should we train to improve its defense? Cao Bong recalled the image from just now. To be honest, such a small ape able to carry such a big barrel must belong to the strength type. Wait, ape, that's right. Cao Bong recalled a book he once read. He remembered seeing in the office file a kind of monster, an ape with very little fur called the Violent Fist Disciple. It has an aggressive temperament, extremely combative, but very low defense. At that time, Ape and Gu Thu were very unruly. So since birth, the Violent Fist Disciple was trained rigorously by its parents to bash trees with its body. At first, when bashing the wood with its strength, even the stone would shatter. Over time, with skin constantly injured and healed, it became tougher and tougher. Cao Bong imagined the proud and fierce image of the Violent Fist. He silently marveled. Once mature, a Violent Fist Disciple not only has thick muscles, but also scars and calluses fused together, forming a sort of natural armor. At this point, even if it hits a mountain, it won't fear injury at all. Cao Bong quietly formed a plan. He could fully rely on this method to train Dai Tu's defense. If so, then let's choose this training material. After some thought, Cao Bong finally decided. Cao Bong approached Dai Tu, who was sleeping comfortably on the grass. He called Dai Tu. Hearing Cao Bong's voice, it turned its head to look at him. He told it to come over quickly. Dai Tu, I've chosen your training method. But with this method, you might have to endure some hardship. Cao Bong clenched his fist, determined, and said to Dai Tu, sweating now means no bleeding later. I'm doing this for your own good. It hurts now, but it's much better than suffering for a lifetime later. Cao Bong was already holding a hammer. Despite Dai Tu's panic, he smiled brightly to reassure him. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. Seeing Dai Tu dart away, Cao Bong was a bit annoyed. You want to run. Run from your owner, and the chasing is exhausting you. In the morning sunlight, the two of them dashed swiftly, looking adorable and graceful. Cao Bong charged fiercely, standing firm, all for your own good. You have to understand my hardship. But how can Dai Tu outrun Cao Bong's long legs? After a while, he was caught again. Cao Bong was out of breath. In the end, Dai Tu was still caught. Cao Bong, exhausted, exclaimed, "Oh my God, my arm almost feels shattered." So the two of them must have trained very intensively. Dai Tu was probably worked hard that day. A week passed. The alarm clock rang loudly in the room. A slow hand reached out and slapped it off completely. The room returned to silence. Cao Bong, still drowsy and sluggish, said, "Oh no, morning training today. Sleep a little more." But the loud noise outside made Cao Bong unable to fall back asleep. Cao Bong shouted loudly, "Stop knocking! I'm making breakfast for you right now!" It turned out Dai Tu was trying to wake Cao Bong because he was hungry. Cao Bong, still half asleep, sluggishly went to make breakfast for the pets. He silently complained clearly, "Upgraded for you, but why is it me who suffers?" Yet not only did his strength and speed increase, his egg-frying skills also got better and better. Dai Tu and Adai were already sitting nearby waiting for the food. Dai Tu's hungry face looked mischievous and adorable. Adai still wore a slightly gloomy look, sitting and eagerly waiting for the hot food. Cao Bong was still complaining about how long this extra mealtime was taking. Dai Tu didn't waste his effort. Not only did his physique grow, but he also successfully leveled up to 10, then monster level 10. Adai also didn't waste effort leveling up too. Cao Bong was in tears. How hard it is to be a foster dad. Cao Bong lamented who trained Dai Tu's defense. "My arm is about to break. Adai is almost eating through my salary too. Supporting these two clans is really tough." Suddenly the phone rang. Adai quickly grabbed it and handed it to Cao Bong. A lively voice came from the phone. "Is this Mr. Cao? I am the director of Lam Thuan Security Company. My name is Lu Sum Lum. Mr. Lu, hello? May I ask what business you have with me?" Cao Bong was drowsy. He had never dealt with Lam Thuan Security Company or even heard of it. The other side enthusiastically introduced Mr. Cao on behalf of Lam Thuan Security. "I want to discuss a matter very beneficial to you. Do you have time to meet?" The next day at the Phi Bong Beast Chamber, a petite girl came out to greet Cao Bong. It was Queen. Seeing Cao Bong, she quickly greeted Mr. Cao. "Your guest is waiting for you in the living room." Cao Bong replied promptly, "Okay." Lu Sum Lum stood up and greeted first. "You must be Mr. Cao." Cao Bong politely responded, "Mr. Lu, right." Sum Lum continued respectfully, "It's an honor. I'm the CEO of Bao An Lam Thuan. My name is Lu Sum Lum." They shook hands, and Sum Lum proposed, "I came to invite you to be the company's beast advisor." Cao Bong still didn't understand. Director Lu, Let's sit down, Cao Bong asked suspiciously. Why are you looking for me? Aren't there other senior and mid-level beast trainers in Chong'an City besides me? I don't know if I'm that well known to have the CEO of a big security company like Lam Thuan come to my door. Sum Lum laughed heartily. Ha ha, Mr. Cao, you're being too modest. Then Sum Lum clearly explained the reason. He called Cao Bong here because Chong'an City does have senior beast trainers, but one is Association President Tron, who has no time to advise a small company like ours. Sum Lum continued. The other is Mr. Ko Kung Lum, who is also a government-appointed official beast advisor. Sum Lum extended his hand toward Cao Bong with great respect. As for other intermediate beast tamers, compared to those people, I am even more convinced that Mr. Cao, the young man, is talented. Cao Bong responded with an expression still tinged with surprise. Then first I'll say that if my conditions can be accepted, we can proceed. If not, there's no need to waste everyone's feelings. First, from Monday to Friday, I have classes. Unless it's an emergency, don't bother me. Second, I don't mind being a consulting beast tamer, but I will not sign an exclusive purchase contract. I can only guarantee I won't poach your competitors. Sum Lum didn't bother to think twice, quickly agreed, and even handed over a piece of paper that looked like a contract. All right, I agree, Mr. Cao. Take a look at this freelance contract we prepared. Does it suit you? Cao Bong carefully read the contents, and with every line his eyebrows knitted tighter. Isn't this contract a bit off? There's no requirement for compulsory annual salary payments. The annual salary is 500 credit points plus commission. Every demon in the Lam Thuan company that evolves successfully will earn a commission of 50 credit points. Don't say this is a legal loophole. This is a welfare bonus. Cao Bong put down his pen and signed immediately, still marveling inwardly. Does the owner of this company just spend money on whims like that? But this kind of almost non-binding contract can be signed. There was a knock at the door outside. Quien announced, Mr. Cao, Mr. Ma, who you previously arranged to meet, has arrived. Sum Lum stood up and said goodbye to Cao Bong. Since the contract is signed, I won't bother you anymore, Mr. Cao. Before leaving, Sum Lum lingered a bit and said a few words to Cao Bong. Then I look forward to cooperating with you in the future, Mr. Cao. Director Lu was polite. Cao Bong stepped into the elevator, preparing to leave. No, it was Sum Lum, who was on the phone with someone. His expression a bit secretive, his voice lowered and less enthusiastic than before. You're the kid. The contract has been signed. Mr. Cao chose to sign a freelance contract. The kid doesn't understand that there are so many intermediate beast tamers in Chong'an, so he definitely has to stop and let you know. After the meeting, the two temporarily headed to two different places. It's unknown where Cao Bong will go. After the appointment with Sum Lum in the treatment room, Cao Bong was admiring the new beast and asked Mr. Ma, Is this the one you mentioned last time? The boss happily confirmed. That's right. The system displayed the info, monster name, 4 seasons, sea lantern flower, demon, rank 3, normal quality wood attribute, healthy, happy, weak against lightning and fire attributes needs, elite quality, upgrade, 100 years of essence nourishment quantity, 1 flower spirit dew. Quantity, 100 drops. Cao Bong looked at its appearance and guessed, this is a plant-type beast. Cao Bong liked it very much. This flower is very adorable with reddish-purple patterns on the leaf edges and serrated margins carrying a faint fragrance. He wanted to evolve this flower demon, and Mr. Mon agreed but seemed somewhat awkward. That's right. Half a month later, Chong'an City will hold a Flower King competition. I plan to bring it to compete for the Flower King title. Cao Bong was confused hearing this, the Flower King competition. Isn't that a beauty contest? Cao Bong's face went blank, his expression extremely humorous. Although plant beasts mutate wildly, plant-type beasts can produce rare spiritual intelligence and are even more sought after than spirit-type beasts because they have healing attributes. And now bringing it to a beauty contest, this kid's luck really makes people admire and envy. The queen beside him was just as puzzled as Cao Bong. But isn't the Flower King competition usually for girls? Mr. Ma had to admit, I also know it's strange for a man like me to compete for Flower King. Others definitely find it very odd. Mr. Ma slowly reached out to the sea lantern flower, immediately wrapping his hand gently around it and said, It's my second beast. Mr. Ma looked at the sea lantern with great affection and said softly, I hope to give it a good start. I believe my way of thinking is not wrong. I want it to be happy. Then Mr. Ma turned to Cao Bong with full trust. So Master Cao, please definitely let it evolve. Only then will it have a chance to win. Cao Bong was very surprised, his mouth slightly open. I didn't expect Mr. Ma to care so much about his beast. Not wanting to betray Mr. Ma's trust, Cao Bong smiled reassuringly. Rest assured, and leave it to me. Cao Bong snapped his fingers decisively with the old rules charging triple fees. Queen immediately handed over the card swiper, eyes shining, inviting him to swipe the card. Mr. Ma looked at him dazedly. Cao Bong instructed Secretary Queen to prepare these materials. 2 stalks of 100-year-old essence trees, 150 drops of spirit flower, dew, 1, spirit flower, leaf, 1, Kimling Z, 1 pound of Bandai High, and 1 stalk of black wind herb. Queen responded very quickly. All materials are commonly found in the shop and are in stock ready to use immediately. Queen's voice rang out clearly, full of excitement. Master Cao, the materials are ready. Cao Bong nodded. Very good, very good. Cao Bong has all the materials, his face as pleased as if carrying rice paper rolls. The two also went outside, saying, don't disturb me while I'm working. Seeing Mr. Ma sneaking glances repeatedly, Queen quickly reminded him, your face is pale from fear of being scolded. Mr. Ma, please don't peek. It wouldn't be good to bother Master Cao. Cao Bong smiled weirdly, looking quite roguish. Hee. Cao Bong approached the small Hai Duong, his voice sounding somewhat savage. Be good now, just a little pain, and it's done. Don't be afraid. Despite Cao Bong's reassurance, Hai Duong curled up, her tiny body, sweat pouring down like rain. Quickly, Cao Bong injected Hai Duong once. The pain was so intense she was on the verge of tears. Mr. Ma couldn't hold back his sympathy and tried to rush forward, but luckily Queen held him back, shouting in panic. Oh, Mr. Ma, please stay calm. It's all for the good of your sacred beast. Cao Bong finished and informed the two. All right, you may come in. It was a complete success. Hai Duong now has a stronger new form, but still retains her cuteness. Cao Bong confidently told them, learn more. Have you seen a level 4 plant-type sacred beast? The monster's name is 4 Seasons Hai Duong Flower Demon, rank 4 elite quality, wood attribute, healthy and happy status with many points in fire and thunder attributes. Mr. Ma was extremely happy and cheered. It succeeded. Queen next to him also exclaimed, so beautiful. Mr. Ma ran over and hugged Cao Bong tightly. Master Cao, thank you so much. Cao Bong, overwhelmed by the hug, stammered, thank you, but please don't get too hands-on. Their laughter echoed through the room. In another space, Mok Tietan was here clinging to her fainted sacred beast, sighing. Failed again. Elsewhere, 3 trainees were exchanging words. One said, why do we risk our lives like this? Even if we pass the test, it doesn't guarantee admission to a prestigious school. That's right after graduation, it's just going to be a 9-to-5 job. By then, you might not be able to become a sacred handler or find a job at all. Exactly, but it's not easy to quit now. It's okay. Didn't they say only 200 people are admitted anyway? We might as well endure 1 month, then retake the cultural exam next month, and just take this month off. Mok Tietan listened to their conversation with a displeased expression, cursing silently idiots who think they're smart. No matter what others do, I must try again. I can only go find that person, classmate Cao Bong, wait for me. The scene opened to a vast forest, rolling hills covered in lush green. Something moved, making the grass sway. It was another small, sacred beast, looking like a little chipmunk, with big round eyes, very cute light brown fur adorned with a few pieces of armor. The cute chipmunk spotted some delicious mushrooms in the distance. Its eyes lit up and it drooled, but the innocent chipmunk didn't realize it was a trap. Just as it approached, it was caught. It trembled, its pitiful eyes glancing back. Oh, this little chipmunk was not easy to deal with. Sharp spikes and claws grew on its back, along with powerful, strong spike segments. The little chipmunk spun several times instantly, shaking off the silk threads that had stuck to it, breaking free. Reflexively, the chipmunk fell straight down, but instead of landing on the ground, it dropped into a nearby deep pit, kicking up dust. At the bottom of the cave appeared many venomous spiders, eyeing the little chipmunk still stuck in the web as prey. Hearing the commotion, other venomous spiders were swarming toward the pit. The scene was about to shift again, this time to the material shop. Tran Kai, the person at the counter, asked, "Who's there?" Cao Bong quickly replied, "Old Tran, the usual cold yin snow thong." "Kim, give me 30 pounds. Old Tran, chewing on a toothpick with a scowl, replied to Cao Bong boss, Chow, the cold yin snow thong kim is seriously out of stock, only 10 pounds left. Chow Bong exclaimed in surprise. Out of stock outside the city. Isn't there a manor specializing in supplying cold yin snow thong kim? How could it be out of stock? Old Tran suddenly pulled out his iPad screen for Chow Bong to see. Don't mention it, a week ago, a swarm of vicious spiders appeared out of nowhere and ate all the medicinal herbs in the garden. Now that area has been sealed off by the military. On the screen was an urgent news flash. Astonishing giant super terrorizing spiders. Mr. Trong's townspeople describe the most terrifying night almost becoming spider food. A completely new type of spider monster has appeared in the Black Forest area of Chang'an City, now fully locked down. The government warned citizens strictly not to enter the Black Forest area. Old Tron continued clenching his fists and pounding the table. Other monsters around the mountains have also become their food. It's said if the estate owner hadn't run fast, he might have been eaten too. Another guest stepped in loudly. Boss Tran, do you have mountain-level spirit wood herb? Boss Tran said loudly, yes, how many do you need? Old Tron then turned to Chow Bong and said, Mr. Cow, our place does business. We have to entertain you. If you need anything else, just say later. Chow Bong nodded. Oh, all right. Chow Bong's eyes showed a flicker of worry and unease. This recent development with Chow Bong Muang Tuong, after arranging all the details, something feels off. First, it was military cooperation, then the security company came, and now there's an unknown spider. A voice inside Chow Bong echoed, something big is about to happen. The phone rang, pulling Chow Bong out of his thoughts. On the phone, it seemed to be someone from Sam Lam. Mr. Cow, are you aware of the newly discovered ruthless demon-killing spider in the Black Forest? Chow Bong murmured the name ruthless demon-killing spider in his head. Chow Bong fell into a thoughtful state. Where is all this heading? At Lam Thun Security Company first floor, Sam Lam hurriedly ran out, shouting, Mr. Cow! Sam Lam quickly informed Chow Bong of the urgent situation, no time for small talk. I synchronized the background news with Mr. Cow. Given the extremely tense situation caused by a large number of ruthless demon-killing spiders raiding multiple resource points, the government has now summoned security companies and several private organizations to explore the Black Forest. The goal is to clarify the weaknesses and behavior patterns of the ruthless demon-killing spider. Sam Lam continued explaining to Chow Bong, our company just received the mission today, will depart in 3 days. But currently, the company's beast-taming side is not fully prepared, so we want Mr. Cow to inspect beforehand. If possible, before departure, upgrading some of the demon wolf beasts would increase the success rate of our mission. Of course, even if upgrading isn't possible, it's no problem. We're already troubling you, Chow Bong suggested. Let's first assess the situation of the demon wolf beasts. Sam Lam looked at Chow Bong and pleaded, Mr. Cow, please give it your all. The company highly values this opportunity. Before that, the government alliance held a conference abolishing many regulations, suppressing non-governmental forces. Sam Lam swiped a card while still talking. Because of this, in recent years, the monster's mutations have made government responses even more exhausted. This conference has introduced many policies. The alliance's direction is likely about to change. Sam Lam stepped aside and said to Chow Bong, Mr. Cow, please have a look first. All the company's demon wolf beasts are here. We will also arrange enough personnel to support you, Mr. Cow. Sam Lam spoke urgently to Chow Bong. As long as results are achieved, the reward will surely satisfy you. Chow Bong smiled brightly. Rest assured, I won't let Director Liu down. Chow Bong stepped forward, touching the grasshopper-like creatures called demon wolves, slowly observing them. Another employee came over and casually asked Director Liu, what is Mr. Cow doing watching them up there? Chow Bong then commented, since coming downstairs, he's just been feeling them like an old man taking a stroll. I don't quite understand. Does Mr. Cow look like he's not even 20 years old or what? Sam Lam got angry hearing his employee babbling nonsense and scolded, if you don't know how to talk, shut up. Otherwise, even your sister won't be able to save you. Sam Lam worriedly thought, I don't know if it will work out or not. This guy is betting his whole future on him. Mr. Cow absolutely must have the capability the man described. Chow Bong pushed his glasses up, his sharp eyes gleamed as he focused on the first row, the 8th from the left, the 4th row, the 4th from the right, and the 7th row, the largest one. Chow Bong smiled and said, please set aside the 10 demon wolves I mentioned earlier. Then prepare a laboratory with low-level parasite enhancers, low-level core earth systems, and 10 parts of refined gang powder flower leaf. Sam Lam was ready and immediately ordered the staff to prepare according to Mr. Cow's instructions. He was also startled and hurriedly said yes. Sam Lam still kept his eyes fixed on Chow Bong. In 10 minutes, among nearly 100 royal beasts, exactly 10 strongest ones were selected, no more, no less. This speed and accuracy rate is truly not intermediate level, even faster than advanced level. Sam Lam smiled proudly and silently praised Chow Bong. And the scariest part is he is not even 20 years old yet. Sam Lam's staff quickly arranged materials for Chow Bong to prepare for the experiment. Chow Bong also quickly dove into the experiment, running back and forth, busy, non-stop. Looking at the small green bead, Chow Bong smiled proudly, quietly happy. Tick-tock time passed. Chow Bong's voice rang out joyfully, waking Sam Lam, who was dozing in his chair. It worked. Sam Lam startled and exclaimed, "Oh, Mr. Cow." Sam Lam hurriedly stood up and went over to Chow Bong. "Come quickly look." A blue light appeared in the laboratory. The Lang Road has become more powerful. From its shape to the aura it radiates, it impresses everyone who sees it. Sam Lam's staff shouted, "It evolved." Teo Ray, one staff member, expressed admiration for Sam Lam. "That's great." Director Lu's sharp eyes recognized it as a fourth-tier leader of the Tui Ma Duong level, and also a perfect quality. Sam Lam looked at Chow Bong once again with admiration and affection. "This Chow Bong is truly profound and unpredictable. I really found a treasure." Chow Bong held a stopwatch and said, counting down the time, "Zibai Huang Chao Wu is as fast as the wind running past rocks and flying all over the ground." Chow Bong pressed the stopwatch, 7:47 seconds, 0.4 seconds faster than before. Chow Bong patted the head of Zibai Huang Chao Wu, holding a food bag, looking very pleased. "Here comes your favorite show." Zibai Huang Chao Wu drooled. Chow Bong suddenly glanced at the person laughing over there. "Ha ha ha!" Two young men were chatting with a girl. "How about next time we go play at that park?" The girl responded to the suggestion. Good Chow Bong stood nearby, thinking, some classmates have already started joking around during training time. Chow Bong looked at the instructor, thinking that the instructor only cared about the students who tried harder. He didn't worry about the students who were negative and neglected their tasks. The instructor was talking to a female student, explaining that her performance wasn't bad. Now she needs to train her reaction speed. The female student nodded and thanked the instructor. Chow Bong could only think this made sense. If the person training can't persist, they certainly won't survive on the real battlefield. No need to waste effort. A clear female voice suddenly spoke up. "Chow, your classmate Mu Thiet An asked, 'Your royal beast is trained very well.'" Chow Bong looked up at him very surprised, thinking, wow, so impressive. Chow Bong's face turned purple as he thought, if this is a guy, he would definitely be called a good man. Chow Bong awkwardly smiled and replied, "Haha, thanks for the compliment." Mu Thiet-ang extended his hand and said, "Cow, I came to form a team with you." Chow Bong couldn't believe it, and asked again why he wanted to find him. Mu Thiet-an's face looked a bit sad as he said that in the later stage of training they need to conduct combat. At that time, teams will be divided and achievements will be counted by squads. The abilities of others are basically zero, can't communicate with them. Chow Bong happily thought, whoa, this classmate Mu is actually quite reasonable. Chow Bong seriously asked again, where is your royal beast?" Mu Thiet-ang smiled with some worry. Wait a bit." Mu Thiet-ang raised his hand to his mouth and blew a horn sound. A huge creature ran over from afar, surprising Chow Bong quite a bit. Mu Thiet-ang shyly introduced his royal beast. "This is my royal beast. The horn sound is a steel rhino." Chow Bong and Zibai Huang Chao Wu were greatly surprised. Mu Thiet-ang petted the steel rhino with one hand and said, before Chow Bong thought about teaming up with him, he wanted to say something first. "The steel rhino is a bit timid." Mu Thiet-ang remembered the time it was startled by a bug. Before, when crossing the road, it even gave way to monsters 10 times its size. Mu Thiet-ang snapped his fingers and earnestly requested Chow Bong that it's quite suitable now for defense. Maybe because its pain sensation is a bit slow, but it's very sensitive to strong pain. Chow Bong stroked his chin thoughtfully. Actually, teaming up with Muck isn't impossible. The system board displays information about the rhino. There are a few beast companions here, but 99% are of common quality. Only about 10 beasts have elite quality, and only 2 horses have perfect quality. Among them, the iron rhino is one of those. Chow Bong set up a great strategy. Take the poison attribute attack route with a snow dew guardian beast for defense, perfectly timed. This way, we can create more opportunities and space for attack. There will also be more tactical options. Mok Thiet-ang looked worried, thinking that Chow Bong had hesitated for so long. Was it really not feasible? Mok Thiet-ang turned his head regretfully and left. Perhaps the great strategy really isn't suitable for fighting beast companions. It's unfair to the friend. Caobong suddenly raised his hand to stop him. Wait a moment. Mok, I accept your invitation. Mok Tiet Aing was very surprised. Caobong extended his hand, implying agreement to the invitation. A gentle personality is fine. We can train later, and honestly, I find interacting with the slow learners exhausting. Mok Tiet Ain's face brightened. He grabbed Caobong's hand joyfully and lifted him off the ground. That's great, friend. Outside the Gray Forest, the United Action Instructor invited the captains and responsible officers to gather on the clearing. Captain Tong clapped his hands, saying he didn't expect to meet the famous Director Lu here. Director Lu laughed and said, "Haha, Captain Tong, you're joking." Director Lu's sharp face said, "According to the latest state intelligence, the ruthless extermination of the Spider Trio shows a clear fear reaction to fire. Everyone knows your team is the best in the fire attribute. It seems this mission will have Captain Tong leading the charge." Captain Tong replied humbly, "I dare not. The Deep Forest assassin of Director Lu's team will probably complete the mission." Before that, Director Lu and Captain Tong looked at each other tensely. The instructor said, "Glad everyone could come. You must have seen the new intel yesterday. A cave with many glowing red eyes, ruthless spider demons hunting in large numbers, bringing prey back to their lair. It's very likely to provide enough food for their offspring. And everyone understands that once the mother spiders get enough food, it means more terrifying spider terror offspring will be born." The instructor clenched his hand seriously and said, "Therefore, this mission is very important. I hope everyone can agree to cooperate. Everything must prioritize completing the mission. As long as the mission is completed, the rewards will definitely be substantial." The other captains discussed among themselves. The military is also struggling, fearing that our civilian organization will end up fighting internally for the mission-wasting resources before it's even completed. Captain Tong asked Director Lu. "What do you think?" Director Lu replied. "No rush. Let's wait and see." The instructor held his earpiece to his ear and said, "It seems no objections, then the mission begins. According to the plan, we will provide fire suppression. Order to attack from Direction 3, open fire." Soldiers received the order and immediately launched an attack from Direction 3, opening fire. Rockets blazed like lightning, piercing a hard patch of land, creating a hole. Stones scattered everywhere. Director Lu said, "See, after all the proper talk, we still have to show our muscle to intimidate the riffraff. This is our deep affection." Captain Tong glanced sideways at Director Lu and snorted. Director Lu analyzed, "But the government truly values this expedition mission. Although this fire shelling is meant to shock us, it really weakens a large number of those monsters. This mission can't be taken lightly or overlooked." Captain Tong pointed at Director Lu's insect swarm. "These are yours. That many guardian beasts, at leader level 8 of them. Every organization has 3 or 4. Director Lu laughed. "Haha, they even have trump cards, unlike our honest bunch." Suddenly, a loud noise shook everyone around. "What is that?" The insect trembled uncontrollably. The instructor checked its status and reported to Director Lu. Director Lu said, "The Deep Forest assassin is not well. It seems very frightened." Director Lu didn't believe it. Suddenly, a giant foot appeared. A huge monster wrapped in golden light covered its entire body, advancing with a fierce expression. Director Lu, standing below, saw this and immediately fearfully said that this light circle is a leader-level beast. The monster's eyes blazed red fiercely. Director Lu shouted loudly, "This is the Lord of the Black Jade Forest!" The leader-level monster stepped into the crowd step by step. It opened its large mouth and roared loudly. People below kept screaming and running away. "Run quickly, don't panic, don't run. Listen to my command, don't block me, listen to the command." The instructor frowned upon seeing the panic, clicking his tongue, truly useless. A streak of golden light flew through the light and a brightly shining bird appeared. Everyone pointed at the bird and said it was the Golden Spirit. The Golden Spirit flew above the leader-level monster. The monster kept beating its chest and growling. The Golden Spirit blew fire toward the leader-level monster, forcing it to block with its hand. The leader-level monster hesitated a bit and retreated backward. The leader-level monster sat down heavily on the ground. The space became quiet again with no more growling. Those people were helping each other stand up and walk. "Not too dangerous, that's good. I thought we were going to die." Director Lu was talking with the instructor, urging everyone to act quickly. "Our reinforcements can only come this far," the instructor ordered. "Gather all the workers and the Chang'an Guard team here." The instructor frowned and said, "Humph, a bunch of misfits. Our army can handle this ourselves. Why let these people interfere?" A man with blue hair and glasses spoke up. "Although we took the lead in detecting the anomaly and secured the secret, it required a lot of preparation. But the world's changes are fiercer than we thought. The situation is getting more serious despite preparations. From now on, we must quickly let the team leaders participate. Below the cave, captains are scouting. Captain Tong commands, "Let your beasts advance and use fire to eliminate the spiders." Lu Jiaovu spoke up. "Captain, continuing like this wastes too much energy. Although our beasts can easily kill elite-level monsters here, the number of monsters is too large. Soon, the beasts' energy will be completely depleted." Captain Tong gave orders to adjust the formation. Defensive beasts stand in front. Support beasts stand in the center. Attack-type beasts stand on the two front melee wings. Don't use long-range attack abilities. Maintain forward advance. Understood. 2 spider demons spit silk at them. Lu Jiaovu ordered the command, "Let the flower demon advance." The flower demon's thorn pilot quickly uses thorn armor and casts a spell on the black night dog covered in spider silk. Captain Tong held a small red mouse in his hand. Many people saw the little mouse jump up and spit fire, burning 3 spiders. Lu Jiaovu admired, saying it didn't consume much, but defeated 3 spiders in 1 strike. The tactics we trained earlier worked. Captain Tong petted the little mouse, saying, "Well done." Sounds of fighting came from ahead. Lu Jiaovu panicked, saying someone got there first. The sound inside the cave can travel far, indicating we are still some distance from the target. Captain Tong ran forward quickly. The rookies responded in unison. "Yes. The captain below this cave is fighting." The commander's voice is arranging the battle formation. Don't let the formation get chaotic. The left flank's attack is weak. Quickly reinforce. They are desperately attacking the giant spider, but have been stopped by the protective shield. Lu Sam Lam commands everyone below. The female spider has little attacking strength left. Don't underestimate it because of its size. It's just a successor. In fact, its combat power is extremely weak compared to its peers. Lu Sam Lam, sweating and urgent, said, "Everyone unite your efforts to kill this female spider. Then base your rewards on the damage caused and fairly divide the credit. Everyone, if you trust me, Lu Sam Lam, I guarantee a fair distribution. Listen to my command. The rear line attacks from a distance. Target the eyes. Others continue attacking the legs." The rookies responded in unison. "Yes." They attacked the eyes. They unexpectedly have protective eye shields. Damn it, plus the attack power. Comrade Lu Triovu ran back to Captain Tong and said, "Captain, the situation is like this. We have to quickly go down to help them. If after this we investigate, the military will deduct our contribution points. Other teams will also exclude us." Captain Tong said worriedly, "That's right. Sitting on the mountain watching tigers fighting will only bring bad consequences. Now we have no choice but to go down. But the female spider's condition is abnormal. I have a bad premonition. Everyone still keeps attacking the female spider. At this moment, the female spider's defensive shield suddenly breaks. Lu Sam Lam saw this and shouted, "The defensive shield of the eyes is broken. Attack quickly." The demon Duong Long obeyed the order and jumped to attack the female spider. He slashed twice at the female spider with his hands. The female spider's eyes suddenly emitted a golden light. Captain Tong saw this and immediately raised his hand to stop the rookie. Not good. The female spider suddenly screamed loudly. Its scream was ear-piercing, making everyone cover their ears in pain. "Ah, my ears hurt so much." They kept shouting, "Who told you to endure it? This has no attack power." Director Lu covered his ears. Lu Sam Lam suddenly opened his eyes wide. "Wait, that is..." Lu Sam Lam continued. The leader's light ring. Lu Sam Lam sat on the demon Duong Lang and said, "This is a top-level leader monster evolving again. Obviously, this monster's evolution process was cut off by us. Their group kept fleeing. This is not something we can handle. Run fast." 3 people standing outside discussed, "It's been over 3 hours and no one's back yet. Shouldn't it be faster?" The intelligence unit estimated 5 hours. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the sky. "Quick look, someone's back." "So fast, the mission is already done." The instructor looked up. The instructor said, "Tell all troops to stay alert and prepare to fight." Lu Sam Lam shouted from the sky, "Don't shoot, they're our people, our people!" The demon Duonglong landed. Lu Sam Lam collapsed to the ground, coughing. "Why is it only you? Where is everyone else? What happened?" Lu Sam Lam grabbed that guy's collar and shouted, "Government, you sent us on this mission to help your friends, right? What the female spider has no attack power. That female spider is upgrading to leader level." The instructor walked over and separated Lu Sam Lam. "Calm down, explain the situation first." Lu Sam Lam grabbed that guy's collar. "When we were scouting the cave, we encountered a female spider upgrading. Because of the strength gap, we could only be massacred unilaterally. To complete the mission, we sent the best beasts, now all dead. We don't even know how many subordinates escaped. The senior members and losses already reached an enormous number. The instructor's face didn't change. This is the result of the Government Research Institute's study of a female spider that is not very strong in combat. From the forest, a man ran out holding his arms. Everyone looked that way. "Quick, someone's back, someone's back!" The instructor asked him, "Where is the Spider King? Did he come out?" The rookie answered, "Don't know, seems like he went chasing someone else." After coming out, we all scattered and ran. The lieutenant and instructor glanced at each other. Everyone said, "Old Lee is back too, huh?" "Yeah, let's check on our deputy instructor." "Sorry, Captain, I couldn't protect Division 6 and A-Lang too well. It's good you could come back." The instructor crossed his arms. "If we had known the Spider King was upgrading to leader level, we definitely wouldn't have sent just a few people." "Right," the instructor said sternly. "If we could bring it back to the military region for training, it could definitely strengthen our forces. Those office staff just know how to ruin things." The instructor snapped his fingers behind his back. "But since the Spider King's evolution failed, it's no longer valuable. We don't need to worry about the rest. 2 tigers cannot live on 1 mountain. Leader Black Tan definitely won't let it go." A big guy ran up very fast. Cowbong patted the big guy's head. "Well done." The young man saw this and scolded his beast. "Look at other people's beasts." The beast resisted. "Bear, growl, growl, growl." Cowbong patted the big guy's head, thinking, unexpectedly, Lu Sam Lam only took 1 mission, and the government already encountered 2 leader-level monsters and 1 semi-leader monster. The outdoor hunting environment is getting more and more severe. Cowbong thought further. The corpse of a monster is usually pitifully low in value, and the corpse of an elite-level monster can only buy some snacks for a die. We must quickly level up a die and the big beast to leader rank so the success rate of outdoor hunting will be higher. And once upgraded, the reputation as a beast tamer should also become renowned. Then it's time to go to Yen City for the Senior Beast Tamer certification, 1 main and 1 support. As long as we follow this growth path, we can keep getting stronger. A die then naturally broke through to level 14, but unfortunately, no one completed the guild monster hunting mission assignment. Even the silver snow gold in the house was completely eaten by it. The image of a skeleton sitting in front of the fridge, only able to sit dazedly every day staring blankly at the fridge door. Cowbong stood watching the big beast playing, and after this training period, the big beast had also reached level 13. At this time, Mok Tietan came over holding a notebook. "Friend Cowbong. This is the defensive beast training method I summarized earlier." Cowbong took the notebook and examined it. "If you choose to team up, you have to prepare thoroughly. With this notebook, you can tailor tactics based on your partner's characteristics." The notebook recorded, "For defensive beasts, willpower like steel is far more important than physical defense. Daily training content is bravery training." Cowbong smiled and thought, "Haha, friend Bo is really serious." Mok Tietan asked confusedly, "Why?" Cowbong patted Mok Tietan's shoulder and said, "Nothing, just suddenly feel you're not easygoing either." Suddenly, the loudspeaker blared, "All students gather in front of the stage, no free training today." The instructor clasped his hands behind his back and said, "Students' Phase 1 training ends here. Before starting Phase 2, we must announce a list first." The instructor smiled and said, "Lu Ha is eliminated. Ta Kwong, first eliminated. Hoku Duong, eliminated." The instructor continued reading the list. Ngo Vin Huan, eliminated. These students are requested to leave the field. The crowd below shouted angrily, "What? Why am I on the list? Is that right? On what basis am I eliminated? This isn't fair." The instructors glared at the students with red eyes. "Any objections? For the past few weeks, we have clearly observed all your performances, whether you've been lazy or not." Inwardly puzzled, Ta Kwong first recalled Ta Kwong's first phone call. "Happy, huh?" Hoku Duong shyly covered his face. On the training field, Hoku Duong said, "How can you sleep comfortably? Starting tomorrow, you still have to go back to the classroom and continue the same old routine." The instructor continued, "If you're lazy, even with the most basic training, then there's no point in continuing training." The instructor introduced the next training content. Phase 2 training content is actual combat. If you treat it with that lazy attitude, not only will unexpected accidents happen, but you might also cause your beast to lose its life. The students were shocked and disbelieving. "Huh? Actual combat." 2 students with worried expressions about their beasts said, Does this mean our beasts will fight those monsters? My teddy is the strongest. It can definitely kill those monsters. Cow saves some armor pieces for Teddy. Your beast only looks scary on the field. It'll probably be scared off in a flash. To fight, you need a beast like my golden tail centipede king. The two glanced sharply at each other and argued loudly. What? The golden tail centipede king is just a normal golden-tailed centipede. That king title is just what you gave it yourself. What do you mean, gave it yourself? Can you even say something so clear about your beasts? It can definitely evolve into the golden tail centipede king. An instructor announced the rules. 5 people make a team prepare to start actual combat training. The new squad will be led by an instructor. Please pay attention to the time. The two separated. Go find other teammates. We're already Cow's teammates. The atmosphere on the field became very lively. Shaolin, we're definitely a strong team. Don't worry, Chow, we're a team now. Yes, I wanted to team up with you a long time ago. Cowbong could only smile awkwardly. Ha ha! Suddenly the instructor appeared, waving, Chow, it's still you. The instructor clasped her hands behind her back and introduced herself. Officially introduce myself. My name is Zhang Ren Bai. So your team's actual combat is under my charge. Behind Trung Nyanbuk appeared a monster with bright blue eyes. She smiled wickedly. So who's willing to be the first to try? A massive monster named Kung Mao Tichu level 9. Normal quality, lightly injured and frightened. The chubby orange-haired boy and the tall black-haired boy trembled in fear. Instructor, can we switch to a different monster? Nyanbuk pointed to a smaller pig-like creature and said to switch to this one named Kwaivat Vo Mao Huiti, level 10. Elite quality, moderately injured and highly alert. Cowbong worriedly wiped sweat from his brow, thinking that although the little dog looked weak, it was elite quality higher than the wild boar had poison resistance and was injured. If provoked to frenzy, this little dog's attack power might be much higher than the wild boar's. Cowbong decisively thought they couldn't let the instructor switch monsters. They had to pick the weaker one to fight. Cowbong resolutely raised his hand and stepped forward. If no one else, then I'll be the first to challenge. Cowbong and his Great Tsu stood before Kung Mao Tichu. Cowbong commanded the Great Tsu to attack. The Great Tsu's body grew larger, glowing with golden light. Kung Mao Tichu opened its mouth and growled, slashing its sharp claws toward the Great Tsu, striking its huge hands down on it. The Great Tsu suddenly appeared on top of Kung Mao Tichu, opened its mouth, eyes flashing gold, and bit Kung Mao Tichu, causing it to bleed. Kung Mao Tichu screamed in pain, angrily flinging the Great Tsu far away, its eyes blazing red with fury. The Great Tsu trembled in fear. The chubby orange-haired boy and the tall black-haired boy, faces purple, drenched in sweat, said, Are we losing? Losing? Don't even think about pulling my hair. Cowbong looked at the scene calmly, snorted, and glanced at the Great Tsu in a weak position, but the system showed Kung Mao Tichu was poisoned, lightly injured, moderate injury, and its mouth dripped a green liquid. The Great Tsu had already grasped the situation. When it bit Kung Mao Tichu, it transferred the green poison into its body. The toxin had entered Kung Mao Tichu through the attack. The stronger Kung Mao Tichu attacked, the faster the toxin spread. Kung Mao Tichu's legs trembled as it collapsed to the ground. The system reported a severe injury. The chubby orange-haired boy, the tall black-haired boy, and their 2 royal beasts all gaped. What exactly happened? Clearly earlier, Kung Mao Tit didn't have the upper hand. The Great Tsu moved closer to check. The chubby orange-haired boy and the tall black-haired boy still didn't understand why it suddenly fell. Then Trung Nyanbuk stood watching and said, Kung Mao Tichu's complexion turned blue. It's clearly poisoned. The chubby orange-haired boy didn't ask again, realizing it was poison. Trung Nyanbuk approached Cowbong to congratulate him on today's training success. Your centipede's poison is very strong and its fighting ability isn't bad, but make sure it uses the toxin less. Otherwise, its combat power could greatly increase, and if it ever faces an enemy immune to poison, it will lose much of its strategy. Cowbong, hearing this advice, said, Thank you, instructor. Following habit, Cowbong rewarded the Great Tsu with food. Well done. Trung Nyanbuk saw this and was puzzled, thinking this centipede was about to be trained like a dog. Trung Nyanbuk said, Kung Mao Tichu can still keep fighting. Who's up? The tall, black-haired friend rubbed the head of his summoned beast and said, "I think my summoned beast can join the second round of combat." The chubby, orange-haired friend standing beside him crossed his arms and said, "Ha, your only skill is barking like a wet dog." The tall, black-haired friend stuck out his tongue teasingly. The chubby, orange-haired friend, "Yeah, you can only bark like a wet dog, go home." The chubby, orange-haired friend said angrily to him. Trung Nyanbuk spoke up, cutting off their quarrel. "Stop talking nonsense, continue training." The tall, black-haired friend ordered his summoned beast to step forward. The yellow-tailed Scorpion King flicked its tail. The yellow-tailed Scorpion King advanced toward Kung Mao Tiat Chu, striking at it with its tail. "Take advantage of its illness and kill it quickly. Use the venomous sting to poison it to death for me." The tall, black-haired friend imagined Kung Mao Tiat Chu dying and laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, no wonder it's the yellow-tailed Scorpion King. It easily defeated Kung Mao Tiat Chu." Then suddenly he looked up at the yellow-tailed Scorpion King lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth. "What's going on here? Why did my yellow-tailed Scorpion King fall down?" Cao Bong, standing outside, said, "It's poisoned." The tall, black-haired friend was startled and turned around. "Poisoned! Poisoned the yellow-tailed Scorpion King." Mok Tiet An told the tall, black-haired friend, repeating what Cao Bong said. "Maybe that's true." The tall, black-haired friend didn't know why, but it was indeed true, so he asked, "Huh?" Mok Tiet An explained to the tall, black-haired friend, "The summoned beasts of Cao Bong and this venomous scorpion both still have residual venom inside this monster's body. Besides, not all summoned beasts with venomous attacks are immune to poison." The tall, black-haired friend scratched his head. "So you're saying it poisoned itself and fell?" The chubby, orange-haired friend standing outside laughed. The tall, black-haired friend, "Really? What yellow-tailed Scorpion King? That's hilarious." The tall, black-haired friend angrily cursed the chubby, orange-haired friend. "Yeah, damn fatty." The tall, black-haired friend pointed behind the chubby, orange-haired friend. "You're still laughing at me, look at your own beast." The chubby, orange-haired friend turned around and said, "Ah." He saw his summoned beast running toward the big pile of waste and shouted loudly, "Wait! Oh my God, what are you trying to do?" The chubby, orange-haired friend desperately tried to stop his summoned beast. "No, no, no." Mok Tiet An talked with Cao Bong. "Cao, I have a question I want to ask you." Meanwhile, the tall, black-haired friend was giving his summoned beast some antidote. "Good boy, quickly drink some antidote first." Nyanbak put his hand on his forehead. The team wasn't easy to lead. Morning sunlight glittered over the tall buildings in the city. Adai was standing in front of the refrigerator. He opened the fridge drawer but saw nothing. Adai closed the fridge drawer. He opened the fridge drawer again but still saw nothing. Cao Bong saw this and crossed his arms, looking at Adai pitifully. It seemed like he thought food would magically appear so foolish it was endearing. Dai was still eating his portion of food. At this moment, Cao Bong's phone suddenly rang. The screen lit up. Cao Bong picked up the phone and saw the number 010101 on the screen. "The Monster Association must be Yinxian Yintong calling." Cao Bong answered the call. A respectful customer service voice came through the phone. "Mission number 001-34872. Someone at the Monster Association has completed the mission product. The scheduled time to arrive at the delivery point is near. Please pay attention to receive it." Cao Bong hurried outside, quickly putting on his shoes. Finally, the shipment has arrived. If anything was still missing, I was ready to evolve Adai down a different path. A robot carried Cao Bong's package. He waved and called out, "Over here!" Inside, the eldest and second eldest were standing, pointing at Cao Bong. Eldest: "That's probably the person who made the highest bid to buy Yin Shui Tong Jin." Eldest said, "No doubt. We followed the cargo truck from the Monster Association's warehouse. Surely we're not mistaken." Eldest laughed evilly. "Tonight we're going big." Third stepped forward and said to eldest and second, "Eldest, are you sure this is okay?" Eldest looked at third angrily. "Yeah, useless." Second angrily smacked third's head. Third was scared. "What's that about?" "This world is naturally the strong eating the weak. As long as we don't get caught, it's fine." Third held his head, yelling, "Stop hitting me, it hurts!" Eldest looked down at second and smiled. "Second is right. And we don't have to act immediately. Just follow and observe. If we really can't offend them, we'll pull out right away." Second said, "Well said. No wonder he's the boss." At night in the city, the three were sneaking under the building's gate. Third brother. Hurry up a bit. This is more thrilling than stealing stuff. Who disagrees? Boss. Why is this area so run down? Feels even poorer than the damn place we live. This kid really has money. The boss grabbed his hand and said, "Isn't that better?" Judging by this kid's appearance, he had no background before. It's just that he recently got rich. That makes it even more suitable for us to take action. The three were sneaking while talking to each other. Third brother. This time we have to go big. Keep your voice down. Why hit me again? I'm not even as loud as the boss. The boss was picking the lock. Third brother and second brother guarded the surroundings. Boss, done. Don't make a sound. Suddenly, footsteps appeared at the door. Duong from the opposite room opened the door, covering her mouth, and said, "Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night?" Second brother and third brother turned around, stammering to explain, "Sorry, miss. The upstairs is a bit dark. We couldn't open it for a while." Yes, it's too dark." Duong turned and stepped inside. "Oh, boss, wait a moment while you touch the door." The boss leered at Duong and said, "Miss, we're a bit thirsty. Could you let us in for a glass of water?" Duong smiled lightly. "Oh, sure, why not? Come in." The boss and second brother looked at each other and smiled slyly. "Hey," the boss said to second and third brother. "Aren't you going to thank this, miss?" Second brother said, "Thank you, miss." The boss. Second brother, third brother, and Duong were all in one room. Second brother reached out and locked the door. Duong saw it and asked, "Why are you locking the door?" The boss rubbed his hands and said, "It's late. We don't want to disturb the neighbors." Duong smiled calmly and said, "Oh, then don't worry." Duong said darkly, "My walls are all made with high-quality, soundproof materials. Even if you're dancing wildly, you won't disturb the neighbors next door." The boss, second brother, and third brother turned pale with fear. "Wait." Behind Duong appeared a blue gecko. Duong's eyes turned mysteriously bright red. "What is that?" The boss and second brother were startled, sweating and trembling. The boss suddenly pulled out a dagger. Rotten woman." The boss pointed the dagger at Duong. "Don't pretend to be a ghost here." Duong was a bit surprised. Carelessly, the dagger in the boss's hand flew far away. Duong's eyes glowed red, her hand surrounded by a red aura. The boss knelt on the ground, holding his arm. "Ah, my arm." Second brother and third brother were extremely scared and worried. "Boss, hedgehog, quickly come help the boss." Third brother ordered the fierce hedgehog to jump up. When the fierce hedgehog jumped up, it was quickly caught by the long tongue of the newt. Second brother and third brother were surprised and didn't know what to do. "What are you messing with?" Duong stroked her pet. "Who's acting crazy now?" Suddenly, sharp beams flew toward Duong. The boss, holding his wound with one hand, said, "Controlling your pet well, you rotten little girl. Let's see if you're still arrogant now." One side of Duong's shoulder was torn. Seeing the scratch on Duong's shoulder, the boss was surprised and said, "Why aren't you hurt?" Duong exuded killing intent. "Ha, I'll give you the answer. You won't understand anyway." Duong's red eyes stared at them. "But it's okay. I'll teach you personally. We have time." Duong smiled mysteriously, terrifying the boss, second brother, and third brother. "Don't come over here." At Chaobong's house, he was quietly crying. Outside, there was crying and wailing. That auntie was wrong. Chaobong thought, who isn't sleeping at midnight, really? At Duong's house, she was talking on the phone while the boss, second brother, and third brother were tied up. "Hey, old Key, send someone to me. There are 3 people volunteering. Don't worry, they've all been trained. I guarantee they'll hold the border defense to the last minute.